I think that's good. So you sure we can trust this friend of yours? So you sure we can trust this friend of yours info? It'll be a crying shame if you're wrong about this. This guy is someone to ride the river with. He'd never sell me bunk information. That town has struck gold. That's what he heard. Heard? He just heard about it? What kind of source is that? We can't go off of rumors, you nutcase. But think about it. We'll be living like English kings if we take over supply like that. What else are we gonna do? The last job was a bust. We got nothing left. Alright. Oh, let me change the game really quick. I don't even know if it's gonna be on here. What is this? Lookout. It is! Bless. Okay. Alright. We've had some bad luck and are running low on supplies. We'll take that town by hook or by crook. And if they don't have that gold, we can take them for what they do have, and skedaddle. The lookout'll... Oh god, it's been so long since I've read, country heavy English. It's been so long. The lookout will go early in the morning and see what we're up against, but I reckon we can bulldoze this burg and have some fun either way. Make sure to bring us back some juicy details, won't you, tomboy? He firmly slaps you on the back. Laughter fills the camp around the roaring fire. Sounds like you'll be riding at sunup to check the town out. You feel it's best to get some sleep. The desert is an orange haze. Scorched sands whip up around your horse's legs. The sun hot against your back as you ride towards the town. Oh my god, they're so cute! Oh my god, I'm obsessed. Sorry, I had to check on the volume. There's not much to be done while riding. The desert is lonely, harsh, bare. Only thing to do is think. You don't like being alone with your thoughts so often, for so long. I think it's still too loud, hold on. But you always are alone as the lookout. And alone being the odd stick of the gang, no one will talk to you unless they need something. Aww. I actually don't know what odd stick refers to. You daydream as you ride, like usual, flights of fancy, settling down somewhere. You're tied to Curly Wolf and his gang, though. Is it so much to ask to be able to live in peace? To not have to fight for survival? Always on the run? Maybe that's what your life will always be like. Gang or not. A hunted outcast. They could have sent you off with some playing cards at the very least. You come to an outcropping near a cliff. Tying up your horse, you approach the edge and see the town come into view. A nice frontier town, small but clearly bustling with people. White painted signs on the wooden buildings glint and bloom in the midday sun. You can't see much else from way up here, and turn to go get your binoculars. You open your saddlebag and pull the metal binoculars out, brushing it against your poncho to dust off the lenses. Turning back to walk to the edge, a figure suddenly rounds the corner of the large rock you've decided to set up camp under. Ah! Caw! Out of instinct, your hand snaps to your holstered gun and pulls it, trained squarely at the head of this new person. The bird, who seemingly came from nowhere, looks at you, clearly just as surprised and out of sorts from your own presence. He shifts backwards, eyeing your hand on your gun. The air feels very still all of a sudden, and given you have the upper hand, you take a moment to look at who you just crossed paths with. He's definitely an outlaw like yourself. A rugged beak shining in the sun centers a face you admittedly find charming. Oh. His face and arms are marked with scars, and a large sawn-off shotgun hangs in his holster. Since he's a bird, you know to be wary, just like he'll know to be wary of a canid like yourself. Howdy there. What's your name, partner? Joseph. And what are you doing all the way out here, Joseph? You seem a dreadful long way away from one might think you should be. Could ask you the same question. You stare him dead in the eye. He's pretty calm for someone having a gun pointed at his head, but you can see some of his feathers quivering. Were you trying to sneak up on me, Joseph? Rob me blind where no one else can see? I bet you thought a fella missing an arm would be easy. No, sir. I had no idea you were here till I walked around here, this here rock. He pats the red stone beside him as if to make a point. Sir? What in the Sam hell? You lower your gun like your shoulder joint just gave out. Like your shoulder joint just gave out and let it hang there. In all my years, no stranger has ever called me sir. Well, color me surprised, fella. You'd have to be blind or full as a tick to not see an upstanding young gentleman. Alright, now you're just licking my boots. The hawk puts a hand to his chest. God as my witness, I ain't lying to you. You holster your gun and snort a small laugh. May he strike you down as penance then. What are you doing out here, picking flowers? The smile drops from his face. He stops short and swallows like he can't bear to say the next words. I'm part of the Black Vulture gang. I'm on the lookout here to survey this here burg. That's very forward of you, considering I just had a gun pointed your way. I'm part of the Curly Wolf gang. I'll be damned, you boys have been all over the West. What brings you right here? Much the same as much the same as you, I would imagine. Rumors of gold. You'd have it just right. Well, I can imagine what my boss might want me to do, coming across someone who's sticking their beak in our business. Joseph tenses up, feathers ruffled. He understands full well what you mean, conflicting interests and all. But he's not here. Would be a real waste of a good bullet to use it on you. Is that an insult, or are you trying to make a mash on me? Aw, they're so cute! The small jibe is enough to make you stop talking and search for the binoculars you threw when you pulled your gun. They're so cute. Oh my god. Yeah. Oh wait, hold on. I am back playing! I swear. Turning your face away to hide the blood rushing to your cheeks under your dark fur. You dust the binoculars off again and walk over to where Joseph is standing, his eyes keenly trained on the town. Don't need no binoculars then, huh? No sir, these eyes can see all the faces of those people down there, no problem. Sir, again, maybe it's just a habit of his to call people that. Say, why do you keep calling me sir? I ain't your boss. You just that much of a polite suck-up? Costs nothing to be kind on the trail, I've found. What do most call you then? You thought this might come up, of course. You're surprised it took this long for him to ask about who you are, what you are. Most would say tomboy, I would think, or other things I wouldn't repeat in such polite company. And what would you call yourself? The question takes you by surprise. Something else no one's ever asked you. I'd call myself a man. Huh? Is that so? He's gonna think you're a nut now. You just know it. You'd be better getting on your horse right now and riding back to stay in another second round than bleh! I got this. You'd be better getting on your horse right now and riding back than staying another second round this stranger. How funny. I guess we're in the same boat, if I'm picking up what you're putting down. Might say that the guys at the camp don't use shove the queer to talk about money. You nodded him, unsure whether to laugh or not. Neither of you seemed sure what to say. Now, instead you hold the binoculars to the bridge of your nose and investigate the town, looking down into the valley. After a spell of looking at nothing in particular silence, you take the binoculars away from your face again, readjusting to the late morning light. You glanced at Joseph's keenly trained eyes, then back to the town. You can't help but stare at the clump of a couple dozen or so buildings. You couldn't help but think about the real people's lives going on down there every day. Deaths, celebrations, harvests, and prayers. How you were gonna hurt them. How you were both gonna hurt him. Ah, don't get it. Joseph's voice snaps you out of your staring. Why would Black Vulture want to come here? There's nothing here. No mines in use, no bank, and they sure as hell ain't rich by the looks of things. Maybe they struck a new vein. This is a miner's town after all. But you're right, something strange is going on. Well, 2 sets of eyes are better than 1, right? You want to work together? You watch my back and I'll watch yours. Deal? A huge feathered hand shoots out at you in expectation. You look at his face and you both lock eyes for a moment. You're not sure what, but there's something in his eyes that makes you feel seen. Being looked at rather than through. Aww, they're so flustered! Good for him. You gently grab his hand, and a second winged hand clasps on you. You gently grab his hand, and a second winged hand clasps on and gives your whole arm a big shake. Whoa, careful there. You don't need to lose another. He lets go and puts his hand on his hips, smiling at you. Hey, come on now, let's get on down there. He walks past you and heads toward a winding rocky pathway down the side of the valley cliff. You take a moment to look at the town again, walking along the cliff edge to catch up with Joseph, wondering if he could see how red your face had been under your black fur. Aww. They're both so cute. Clambering down the cliff face, the shade of the valley is a welcome change after a long ride in the sun. The climb down is quiet, only a few grunts and gripes, and a couple voices of concern from Joseph you quickly waved off. You both approach a wooden sign you spotted a little ways off, swaying in the desert wind. It looked relatively new, a board hanging on 2 chains, a wood carved into the wood. A what? Did I read that right? A word carved into the wood. That's probably what it said. Can you read it? It was only a single word, but you couldn't piece together quite how to say it. No. Well, I'm sure someone will tell us. You notice some familiar smells drift on the wind as a gust blows through the town past you. Tobacco smoke, whiskey, stewing meat from somewhere. It reminded you of the camp. Walking more into the town, you get a better look at the buildings that were just dots up on the cliff. There was a saloon at least, seemingly one of the older buildings in the town, as well as what you guessed was a sheriff's building, although the sign outside looked to be busted up. Everything else you could see from here seemed to be houses and whatnot. Leftovers clearly made by miners, not built to be sturdy or last long, but had been fixed up to be livable for folks. Clearly the people here like this place, and if they get a whiff of why you're both here, alright partner, I say if we get I don't know why I'm struggling to read this one. Alright partner, I say if we get given any evil eyes, we hightail it out of here. Ain't worth getting shot in a place like this. Sure thing. We got each other's backs, remember? You nod at him. We'd best be getting to people. Daylight's Burton. Oh, here comes someone now. Sure enough, you see a short figure approaching you from the sheriff's office. You hear the pound of a cane on the dirt as they limp towards you with a vigor in their step. Oh! When they get closer, the haze of the desert heat obscures them less. You see a smartly dressed old wizard standing before you both. Cane in one hand and a metal flask in the other. Oh, and a watch! Howdy, fellas. I'm Sheriff. Welcome to Clemency? Clemer? I didn't read that. A pleasure to meet you, Sheriff. He gave the lizard an expectant look, waiting for a name. My name is Sheriff. Just Sheriff, and that's all you need. And what do you call yourselves? My name is Joseph. And my associate here is... He gestured toward you and turned to look at you, a subtle panic running across his eyes. You realize that he just realized you never gave your name. What is your name? Oh, I like Robin. Oh, it's raining. It's really raining out there. But Robin is a bird name, no? This is such a random reference, but I really like the name Coots, and I know that Ludwig's cat's name is that. She's very cute. But I do like the name Coots. It's just very like, I don't know, random and just a sound that sounds right. Coots. I'm Coots. Pleasure to meet you. You said this while looking at Joseph, resisting the urge to wink at him before looking back to Sheriff. So what brings you to our fine town? We're just riding through. Needed a rest stop. There a problem with that? Joseph nudges you with his elbow a bit. Glancing at his eyes, you can tell he's saying, "Don't be so rude." No, not at all. I'm just the closest thing we have to a welcome committee, and it's always nice to see some new faces all the way out here. How long will you be staying? The saloon has some rooms if you'd like to stay the night. That's an awful kind offer, Sheriff, but we'll be gone before nightfall. At least that's the idea. Maybe we'll like this town so much we stay. Joseph and Sheriff both chuckle, and Sheriff sighs. Well, you boys let me know if you need anything else. I'll be at home most likely. Will do. Yep. With the tip of the hat, Sheriff turned and started walking back to the building at the end of the road. With the lizard out of earshot, Joseph turns to you. So, partner, what's our plan? Oh man, the rain is coming down. I was originally thinking about ordering some food, but I don't know. We'll see. You look around the town for a moment, surveying the handful of people walking about, talking to each other around their houses. Taking in the warm wind blowing past you with a deep breath, we get talking to folks. Oh my god, this rain is actually insane. Hold on. Hold on, fellas. Can you hear this rain? It's actually so loud. Oh, the mic says it can't. That's good, that's good. Okay, let's see. Let us return. Okay. We get talking to folks. And what, they just run their mouth about all the gold they found? No, but I reckon a town this size, if they've struck something, there'll be a buzz about. We ask them about themselves, about the town, someone will spill sooner or later. Alright then. Well, I got a pretty good peep at the place on the way down. We got a saloon just here, we got some sort of town hall over there on the far side, and we got sheriff's station at the end of the road by the looks. Where to? I say we go to the town hall. There might be a meeting we can drop in on at the town hall. Seems worth a look. Sounds good to me. I wouldn't mind sitting down a spell neither. Oh, what a cute environment! You both start walking to the outskirts of the town, weaving between the clumps of houses and down the dirt banks. You keep walking on a flat stretch, smooth and compacted from the frequent travels of people. Some townsfolk on their porches wave at you, or give a little afternoon as you pass by. Is it just me, or does it feel like everyone here is nicer than most? Well, maybe, but I ain't complaining. He gives an enthusiastic wave to a small kid shyly hanging around outside their house under the shade. I could get used to folks being nice to me. They not usually? I mean, I don't stray far from the gang a lot of the time. Maybe this is normal. Yeah, I suppose I wouldn't know either. You arrive at the large wooden building you'd been heading towards, noting how similar to a chapel it looked. Joseph walks up the small steps and opens the door with a rattle, holding it open for you. Thank you kindly. Cute! I like this. He follows you into the short, darkened hallway, closing the door behind him with another wooden rattle. The meeting hall is fairly large, and simple, and bright. The wood walls are varnished and gleaming from the ample sunlight filtering through the arched windows. Rows of benches line the aisle, half facing away and half facing towards you on each side. Sitting on a nearby bench turned away from you is a hunched figure in black. Hearing you come in, the figure jumps to life, rising from the seat. They turn to you both, revealing themselves to be an elderly tortoise, holding a small book in one hand. Do my eyes deceive me, or do I see new visitors to our town? He walks with the characteristic slowness of someone his age and nature down the aisle towards you both, but with a surprisingly sprightly spring to his step. He tucks the book under one arm and extends both his hands to shake hands. He extends both his hands to shake hands with Joseph and then you. Welcome to Clemency. Oh, that's the town name. And to our meeting hall. I am Jacob. And what might your names be? I'm Joseph, and this here is my associate Coots. Pleasure to meet you. I assure you the pleasure is all mine. It has been a good while since we had fresh faces around here. Now you'll have to excuse me, but I have some business to attend to quickly. Feel free to sit and pray here while I return if you so wish. Before you can ask any more questions, he shuffles between you both and out the door. You and Joseph look at each other quizzically, sitting down on the nearest bench together. What did he say? Sit and pray here? That's what I heard too. Is this a meeting hall for prayer? The meeting house of God? I don't get it. You can't help but smile at his musings as he looks around the room, looking into the rafters of the ceiling, before turning back to you. You lock eyes with him, staring into the honey gold and brown streaked rings of his keen gaze. This is so cute. He smiles at you coyly and looks away. Readjusting in his seat, you realize you were holding your breath. You sit up on the bench more. The hardwood at your back reminds you of church days. All the fuss and protests against your mother about your Sunday best. You don't miss the frills and laces at all. You do miss singing hymns with her. She had a beautiful voice. I don't remember the last time I prayed. Don't cross my mind very much. Can't say you're missing anything. All the good it did you. It do you. Not a believer? I don't want to blaspheme, but God's done a whole lot of jack squat to help me all my life. Don't really feel like praying to someone who doesn't care about me, or anyone like me for that matter. Which is why I wouldn't have pegged you for a devout man. Joseph laughed a bit, almost mocking the idea. No, I don't think anyone could accuse me of that. Not with some of the things I've done. But I still pray. Only the Lord knows if he's listening. But it helps remind me what's important to me. A lot of the time, I just pray for family. Hope they're doing fine. I hope they are too. There was a momentary silence between you, like the subtle shift of coals in a long burning fire, now snuffed by the door rattling open again. You looked behind you, and sure enough, it was Jacob shuffling in. He grabbed a broom and briefly swept some dust he tracked in back outside before closing the door with another rattle. Forgive me for the delay. I hope I haven't kept you two from your business. Don't worry yourself. We're doing just fine here. He leaned into and nudged you playfully. Good. So how may I help you, gentlemen? The word catches you off guard as a little, the way it trips off his tongue so easily. No bitterness or mockery. Joseph seems to stall for a moment before a little wry smile returns to his face. He adjusted in his seat to turn to Jacob, who had now taken a seat facing you on another bench. Well, we're just passing through, and I'm curious you mentioned something about prayer. Ah, well, yes, of course. You must forgive me, I'm clearly far too used to the usuals of the town. His slow drawl of words is comforting, like being told a long-worn story by a grandparent. This is a meeting hall for friends, Quakers, if you will. We're a largely Quaker community here in Clemency. Quakers, oh yeah, there's a lot of folks over here in Pennsylvania and the likes ain't there. Yes, indeed, that's true. In fact, that there is where I hail from, but I must admit it has been a long time since I last visited. Sorry, I've got to say I'm at sea here. I've never heard of Quakers. I can't say I'm much more enlightened myself. I don't know nothing about them. You both turned to Jacob expectantly. Well, what's the simplest way I can explain our beliefs? He fell into deep thought for a few moments, eyes staring into the middle distance, before coming back to life. We believe that there is that of God in everyone, that we all have an inner light that guides us. We don't perform sermons or sing hymns, instead we pray in silence together. There are no guidelines as to what you should do, other than try to connect and listen to the light within yourself. We also very strongly believe in pacifism and do what we can to promote peace, denouncing all forms of violence and the degradation of our fellows who walk the earth with us. It's important to respect the light of God within everyone. That's certainly how I see it. That sounds nice, but well, things don't often work that way in my experience. Jacob smiled wisely, likely having heard the same sentiment many times before. Yes, there's certainly some that adhere to it more than others in town here, but it's always been an important tenet in our community. So everyone in this town are Quakers? Well, yes and no. Many of us are, but some of us more so, just adhere to the same principles and ideas of non-violence and so forth. Quakerism isn't enforced, but Quakerism isn't enforced, but it bonds this community. Interesting. What about old Sheriff? What about Sheriff? With the pacifism and whatnot, doesn't seem like it'd be easy. Oh, well, yes, I can see how you might suppose that. Sheriff cares about keeping the peace, but isn't solely responsible for it. We all are. It's what made this town so easy to keep going. Me and Sheriff see eye to eye on many things. So you and Sheriff have been here a while then. Did you found the place or something? You'd have believed it by the tortoise's age. He could definitely be as old as this town. No, you flatter me, for I'm not quite that pioneering, but I have indeed been here for a long time. If you'd indulge me, I could tell you a little of my story. Please do. Jacob nodded again, drifting off into thought for a moment before coming back with his words. Ooh, full drawn illustration here. Do I just click? As I said, I'm from Pennsylvania. During the height of the gold rush, with so many heading west, many Quakers thought it would be a benefit to follow. I was much younger then, much more eager to get on the trail and spread the ideals of the friends. Although I can't say my love for blabbing has waned much. He gave a charming and hoarse little laugh at his own jibe. The trail has been very hard, but I learned much from others in the caravans and towns and cities on the way. So much life and light. I arrived in this here town maybe more chipper than I had left, but it was not to be. His expression softened, drawing into himself, emotion failing to find its way onto his face. I loathe to speak ill of my fellow man, but when I arrived, this was a godless place. The miners had little care for each other. Be it out of greed or desperation, they were consumed by their need for gold. Even those who had had their fill. The whole town was tense and unpredictable. Arguments, even violence, would erupt whenever something valuable turned up. A new vein, gold in the river. They'd do whatever they had to get, whatever they wanted. The night I arrived, they told me of the so-called savages that used to reside here. Very little makes my blood boil, I tell you boys what, but the way the miners talked about those Indians... the Native Americans? How happily they told me stories about the ways they drove them out. Unspeakable things I dare not and would not want to repeat to anyone. I tried explaining the friend's way, how even the savages, as they say, or as they called them, had the light of the God in them. How we were equally important in the presence of God's light. That the people we shared this earth with were not our enemy. They had no care for my explanations. They had no care for the needs or lives of others than themselves. It made me wonder how Quakers' past had convinced people of the evils of slavery, of the importance of peace. I didn't know Quakers convinced people that slavery was bad. I would have to relearn my American history, because I got dust on that history shelf. Building bonds instead of destroying one another. I lost hope. I thought maybe things had changed so much. Perhaps this was the people's limit. Tolerance of those who could get into their way. Tolerance of those who could get in their way was no longer an option. Or perhaps I was just a failure, unable to convince a single soul of giving a damn. The old tortoise looked forlorn, brow furrowed, like he was reliving these moments so vividly, that these were the same faces he wore. Then along came Sheriff. Oh, Sheriff. I was a little worried when Sheriff was first assigned to the town, that I'd just have another person to fight with, someone with authority on the side of the miners. Instead, I found a kindred spirit, someone who actually listened to me and agreed with me on many things. Very quickly, we became firm friends. Eventually, Sheriff got sick of the miners, decided enough was enough, and shut down the town, forced the miners to move elsewhere. The entire time he'd been talking about Sheriff, his face was lively, lit up, his hands moving with his words. It was a lot like how your pastor used to give sermons. Surely there was resistance to a whole mine in town being packed up like that. Of course, but Sheriff did what's right. That's the way Sheriff's soul is set. I'd felt buried by the weight of the town's hate, their convictions like stone walls I could not scale. I'll be grateful to God until the day I die that Sheriff came here. I was given so much hope when I had lost it all. And you've been here ever since? Jacob chuckled. Yes, and we have. Only a handful of us stayed after the miners left, and it was hard to know whether this town would still stand. But we felt sure we could find more people who cared, as long as we worked together. More people like us. His word hung in the air, settling around you and Joseph as Jacob settled his gaze on you both. So those miners are still around? A lot of mining towns died down because of the gold drying up, but if miners just left, I guess there's some still here. Well, yes, I suppose so. I can't say I've thought much about it in recent years. We don't encourage those looking for gold. I'm sure you understand. It's nothing but trouble. His warm gaze turned somewhat steely. You weren't sure how long it might go on for if Joseph didn't pipe up. Course, Jacob. We're just a curious bunch. Thank you for talking with us strangers so long. His stern eyes disappeared in an instant, and he humbly waved Joseph's thanks. No, the pleasure's all mine. Oh, I just changed accents. It's been good to talk to new ears. If you'll excuse me now, I must get this place tidied up before today's meeting. Quick a meeting? Yes, indeed. You're both welcome to join us if you'd like. Thank you, Jacob, but I'm thinking we'll be off anyhow. You all stand, stretching and shaking off the stiffness from wings and tails and legs. Go well, and keep the light close to you. You both nod and leave through the same rattling door as before, catching one last glance at Jacob starting his chores before you close it. Very cute, very cute. Joseph stands with you for a moment in the porch of the meeting hall, looking off into the town. What you think? Well, we know now that these folks ain't gonna put up much of a fight. Maybe some of them, but... And then there's definitely gold here, somewhere. Joseph had no real emotions playing across his face, but he was standing much more still than you had seen him before. Like he was trying not to breathe. Come on, we've got more people to talk to. He exhaled sharply, the feathers on his beak next to his nose holes fluttering. Yeah, you walked past the houses and people like before, but didn't feel like waving back. Interesting. Where to? The saloon or the sheriff's office? I want to do the sheriff's office last, but I also kind of wanted to do the saloon last, but I'll do the saloon. Let's check out the saloon. I reckon if anyone knows anything about these rumors, it'll be in there. Alrighty then. Walking through the doors of the saloon, you're hit with a very familiar smell of tobacco and alcohol hanging in the air. A couple patrons drink and talk quietly in the corner, not taking any notice of you two. You see a dozen or so tables, and looking up, there's a second floor with the room sheriff mentioned. Howdy there! Your attention is grabbed by an excitable and friendly voice coming from a short bird standing behind the bar, who is now grabbing a couple glasses. My name's Bartholomew. What can I get you fellas? He started wiping the glasses expectantly, glancing between you both as you walked the few steps from the doors to stand at the bar. I'll get a beer. Alright, and you? I'll, have what he's having. Yep, come on, right up. He set the mugs down and disappeared through a door behind the bar into a back room. I don't have any money on me, Joseph. Don't worry about that, it's on me. He patted you on the back with a big wing a couple times, but withdrew his hand when he saw you wince a little. Oh, sorry, was that too hard? No, you're fine. You hadn't winced from pain, you weren't used to someone touching you, like that at least. Friendly-like. Bartholomew reappeared with 2 glass bottles, tipping them into the mugs with satisfying glugs, before taking a couple coins from Joseph. Thank you kindly. I keep doing I don't know why. I'm like, bartender voices are just like high for me. You both take a sip. Joseph seems to enjoy it, but you find it a bit more bitter. You try not to pull a face. Not like it? You smile weakly. Not my thing. Noted. He winks at you and you feel your cheeks redden a little. Oh my god. The random moments of flirting actually gets me so off guard, and it's so cute. Like, it's so subtle, but it's so cute. Oh my god. You both keep drinking while the bartender busies himself behind the bar. The saloon is quiet, and a piano sits gathering dust in the corner, seemingly untouched for many moons. Wind whistles through a gap in the saloon doors, carrying the sound of desert insects. Slow day, huh? You look up from your drink and see he's looking at the bartender, who doesn't seem to have taken any notice. He glances at you both and realizes rather sheepishly he was being talked to. Oh, beg your pardon. Sorry, almost went high voice again. Oh, beg your pardon. Slow day? Nah, this is the usual. Gets a lot more lively in the evenings when the sun goes down. Everyone comes here to take a load off. So you know everyone here pretty well then. Well, of course, not exactly a big town. We're a pretty tight-knit lot here. Oh, I just... My accent is so not pinned down. Why is that? This is a mining town, right? These places usually explode with people. Well, I can't say I know much. He looks oddly unsettled by your question. How long you lived here for? He perks up again from whatever you said that troubled him, the brightness returning to his voice. Oh, well, I'd say somewhere close to 8 years. That's a darn long time. I suppose it is. What made you stay? Never mind staying. How'd you even find this place? I'd never even heard till we stumbled past. Bartholomew's cheery smile dropped a little, morphing into something more wistful, like the face of someone looking at an old, now bittersweet photograph. You boys ask a lot of questions, don't you? Oh. You and Joseph look at each other for a moment, expecting the other to say something, but nothing comes out. I don't mind. To give it a fair shake, this town ain't the most exciting. It's nice to talk to someone new. It's nice to talk to some new ears that ain't tired of my squawking already. He gives a little half-hearted chuckle. Illustration. Let's go. Well, I found this place because I heard about there being gold. Like a lot of folks, I was fixing to get my fill. You and Joseph both leaning a little at the mention of gold. My fiance was running away from home, and I was going with him. We thought we'd go out west and make our fortune. Looking back on it, I get why so many called us foolish. I might have been one of them if it were the other way around. But we had our hearts set on it. We followed the road by wagon, and it was damn tough, hellish even. Thank our lucky stars we made it here to Clemency on a wing and a prayer. That was when we really felt like we were foolish. When we got here, talking about gold, we almost got ran out of town. I don't know the details, but there was a lot of trouble here with miners ran this place. No one's been digging for decades now, but word hadn't traveled far enough, it seemed, to let us know at the time. At first, Sheriff told us to leave. Didn't want no more of our kind. I'm like losing something. Didn't want no more of our kind causing trouble. But when Sheriff saw how stuck we were, how we had nowhere else to go, how rough the journey had been on us, Sheriff's nothing if not kind. Could see we weren't troublemakers, just wanted a better life somewhere. He shrugged, like there was nothing more to it. With the town's help, we gussied this here saloon into something I could run, and the rest is history. I'm glad y'all found something here. Yeah, I can say that for sure. Clemency may be small, but it's something real special if you ask me. So there's no gold here. Bartholomew leaned against the shelves behind him, crossing his arms. Not as far as I know. The mines are around here somewhere, but I've never seen them. This hasn't been a mining town for a long time, and folks here don't think of it as one. You do well to keep that in mind. He tapped the side of his beak as if to say, if you catch my drift. Even so, I would be interested in the history of the town. Afraid that well runs dry here, and there's others who might have been here far longer than I have. You can always talk to Sheriff if you haven't yet. Sheriff made this place what it is today. Want to know something? That's the lizard to talk to. The sheriff's a lizard? Oh wait, I did know that. I don't know why I forgot that. I thought that for some reason I thought what was it, Jacob, the person at the church at the town hall? I thought that person was a lizard for a second, but they're a tortoise. I don't know why I thought that. Thank you, Bartholomew. No problem. It's my pleasure. Bartholomew stood up from his lean and stretched his back and arms a little. Slinging his cloth over his shoulder, he picked up a small clinking and rattling box before walking through the bathroom. Daylight's burning. I think we'd best be going. We best get going. Agreed. You stood at the bar and waited a moment while Joseph downed his beer, and then yours too. Hope you can hold that. Ah, please, how little you must think of me, only a couple of beers. You should have seen me at the Long Branch and Dodge. Drank the entire gang under the table. Can't help but smile at his cockiness, unsure whether to believe him. You briefly think back on the times the gang had gone to bars. You're always told to stay outside, don't wander off. A dog on a leash waiting for a master to come back. Staring into lamp-lit streets and hearing the braying crowds all around you. Drunken strangers enjoying each other's company as much as their liquor. At first they told you it was dangerous for you to stray too far. Then they started telling you to stay outside after you'd beaten the teeth out of the guy in an alley who you knew had been staring at you. Couldn't have you cause them needless trouble. Off so soon? Bartholomew re-emerged into the bar, looking expectantly. Well, don't be a stranger, strangers. You're welcome to come back later when the bar is more lively. My husband would love to meet you both. The casual lilt of his words caught you off guard, and you see Joseph stumble a little. Oh my god. Not to be forward, but this seems like a gay-ass town. Failing to get any words out, he just tips his hat and you both leave the saloon, stepping back into the dust and dry desert heat. The dry desert air is warm in your lungs. Blazing afternoon sun bakes the ground beneath you as you walk near the edge of town again. Your throat feels tight, feet sore. There's a gentle pounding of blood in your head, accompanied by a familiar piercing ache. Everything seems so hazier than it usually is. Thoughts are swimming. You're fine. Just keep walking. You almost bump into Joseph as he stops short, looking around again, searching for anything you might have missed. You look as well, but the sun seems too bright somehow. You look down at your feet to shield your eyes, staring at the tiny dunes on your footprints in the dust. Alright, so where to now? I think there's only one place of interest left. You heard what he said, but didn't quite stick with you. Yeah, sure. Should we get going there then? Again, hearing, but nothing stays. Your thoughts feel like just caught fish wriggling from your hands. Alright then, let's go. Yeah, let's keep moving. Joseph starts walking away and you follow. You try to follow. Your feet move, but they don't land where you want. You stumble a little. Joseph looks around at you as you stand there, staring at your feet again. Hey, what's the matter, partner? I feel a little dizzy. You doing all right? Didn't say anything. He placed his hand on your shoulder and twisted you to face him, looking down into your face. Yeah, you're looking a little sick there. Let's go sit down a spell. He started walking with a hand... I keep going in and out of this accent. He started walking with a hand on your shoulder, guiding you over to a ledge with a shallow drop you could both sit on and hang your legs over. You felt better sitting down, more stable. You hear the rustle of Joseph unclipping something from the back of his belt, seeing him pull a round canteen between the two of you. When's the last time you had a real drink? Must be mighty thirsty if you're feeling that dizzy. Of course, how could you have forgotten? You've been riding and walking all day, but hadn't had a drop of anything since you set out. Although you weren't sure what Joseph had brought with him. Ha! What's that look for? You think I got liquor in here? He chuckled in a little and unscrewed the cap, letting you smell it a moment before taking a long gulp. Just water, see? Get it down you before you collapse on me or something. You sheepishly took the canteen from him and gave it a little wave in his direction as a cheers. You tilt it to your dry mouth and take deep gulps for a few seconds, licking water drops hanging on the edge of your lips after. Bit warm for my liking. Can't beat cold water from a clean stream, but better than drying out like your mom is washing. You take another swig before handing it back to him. Thank you. Don't worry about it. Just pipe up next time. Almost hit the dirt just because you didn't say anything. Sorry, it's just... we have a job here. Didn't feel like I could waste time. Pushka! Can't even make time to sit down and drink? You're unlike most I met. Who put a snake in your boots anyway? You gotta slow down a little. Maybe. I mean, what do you do to relax when you're off the job? Relax? Yeah, you know, relax, unwind, take a load off. I know what you mean. The question just caught you off guard a little. You weren't sure how to answer. You'd never given it much thought. What do you do to relax? The gang is always busy with something. Traveling, hiding out, making trouble. Not a lot of time to not do anything. I guess I play cards or something sometimes. Mostly just solitaire. Respectable. You win much? Nope. Ain't about winning anyway. Just helps to pass the time. Yeah, I know what you mean. Me and the boys usually play some rounds of cards sometimes betting. Although some of them are real sore losers. Sometimes it's easy just to let them win and avoid the issue. I bet one of them's at poker 5 times. I bet one of them at poker 5 times in a row, and I swear the rest of the week he was giving me eyes. Found my hat full of knife holes one morning too, but I think it was just to scare me. At least, I hope it was. He gave it a loud guffaw, The real and unrestrained kind that made you doubt a second if the canteen really was just water. He had a nice laugh, he thought. Someone actually enjoying themselves. Maybe it was just nice to hear a laugh that wasn't done at you. You a gambling man? A flutter in your chest at the end of the ribs. Or at the end of the ribs. Not really. Never had much to gamble in the first place. Always seemed like a waste. I can respect that restraint. Don't always have to be about money, mind you. When I was younger and me and my papa he stopped for a moment, thinking and scratching his neck. His train of thought slowed by some forgotten memory. We used to play cards after dinner, and a lot of days when I came home, I'd bring pebbles from the river. Always liked how smooth and pretty they looked. All sorts of colors and shapes. All of them different. We kept them on the mantelpiece, and when we played cards, we bet with him. He always won, but it was too much fun for me to ever be mad. Think he did let me win though. When I was betting big and was gonna lose one of the rocks I really liked, he always knew which ones were my favorite, and never wanted to see me cry. Can't think of any other reason he would have lost to me. Suppose I ought to thank him for teaching me. Aw. You weren't sure what to say, so you just gave him a soft smile. Family could be so complicated. You didn't want to say the wrong thing. Oh, you know what? He dug into a pocket and produced a tattered-looking packet into his hand that you recognized to be playing cards. How about some Vinedin? You played that before? And we can bet with a he twisted around and himself, looking for anything you could use as stand-in betting chips. He saw his eyes settle on a small pile of rocks for a moment, but instead noticed a stray feather, barely holding onto the back of his hand. He plucked it and placed it between you both, twisting how he sat to face you better. We can bet on this feather. We'll do a first to 5. You get it if you win, and keep it if I win. Or I keep it if I win. You swiveled yourself round to sit cross-legged and face him. Didn't know you were so desperate to gamble. You'd use your own body. Hardy har. Just thought it'd be more interesting than rocks. Well, I thought you were a rock lover, Mr. Rock Collector. Take him on the open road, your own little rock circus. A regular Barnum. Joseph couldn't help but smile, even through his fake pouting at your teasing. I don't know if J.H. Barnum had quite the same ring to it, frankly. J.H.? You got 4 cards, Joseph Harrier,
making
my
your
initials.
total 12. Dealer's face of card is 6 of hearts.
So do you know how to play Venom? No. Nope. Alright.
12.
Rules are simple. I'm the dealer, and I
draw
deal
the
2
ace of
cards
spades.
face up.
Total is
Deal
now
myself
13.
1 face up and 1 face
But
down.
if I'm winning, then it's
Idea is to get as high a number from
And
your
that's-
cards as you can without going over 21.
11.
If you go over 21, it's a bust. Same goes to me. If you ever need a higher number,
Well,
then
that'd
you
be
need to win.
too much,
But you need a higher
Oh, but
number
I
than
guess
me to
you would
win.
just
A
keep
draw
going.
is called a push.
You draw the ace
You
of
can hit
hearts. Total
to
is
get
now
another
40.
card or stand and stick with what you have. You can hit as many
I
times
guess,
as you
yeah.
like as
You draw
long
the
as you're
5
under
of hearts.
21.
Total is now 90.
After you stand and flip my face
Dealer's
down,
hand is
you
6
have
of
to hit
hearts.
his
2 of hearts.
After
making
you
his total
stand,
80.
flip over my
Dealer's hand is now 6
face
of
down
hearts.
card
2 of
and have to
hearts,
hit
and
as
the ace
so
jack,
long
making his
as
total
under
90.
17.
Oh,
If I go bust
Push.
or my
No
number is
one
lower
win.
than
Go
yours, you
again.
win. If you get
you
21
got the 9
exactly,
of
then
clubs
you don't
and 3
hit or
hearts,
stand.
making
And
your total 12.
I can get a
Dealer's
push in
face off
that
card is
case.
10 of diamonds.
I
making his
also
current
get
total
21.
10.
Cards are with what the
You
number
draw the
says.
jack of clubs.
Face
Total is now 21.
cards like king, queen, jack
Your
are
bust.
10.
Dealer wins this round.
Where things can
You got
get
the
a
jack of
little
diamonds and 10
found
of
in
hearts.
is that the
Make your
ace is
total
worth
21.
neither 1 or
Dealer's
11.
face cup card is
Ace
10 of
is worth
spades.
11
making
in
his
a
current
hand
total
unless if
11.
you bust, in
Understand.
which case it's just a
Dealer's
1.
hand is 10 of
Ace
spades.
can
king
still
of
be an
spades,
11
making his total
if it
20.
would let you win.
Push.
It's a little
No one
muddled
wins.
during
Okay.
games sometimes, but I ain't trying
You
to
got the
cheat you.
6 of spades and
So
4.
just don't worry about it too much.
I'm not gonna read it out loud.
Right, let's play it.
I'm
Let's
just gonna
play.
say
First to 5.
Dawn.
10.
Well, there you have it. Take your prize, sir. You took the feather in your hand,
14.
twisting the smooth quail back and forth a couple times between your thumb and forefinger.
7?
What happened?
Oh, 21!
Let's go. Okay,
It was
7,
thin,
tapered, in the
9,
color of coffee.
12,
Thick, uneven strips of cream
18.
white ran all along
Let's
it from the
go.
middle. Thank you, Joseph.
Okay,
Thank
hit.
you. I got 10.
Don't mention it. Oh, I will stand.
You pocketed the feather carefully. You got 19. I'm higher.
We should probably go.
You got
I'll
the
get
first
back
of
to it.
10s. Okay, so
Long
this
as you're
is
happy to-
20. Stand.
Long as you're happy to and can stand
They
steady, then
got
I'm ready
15.
to.
You
You
swung
swung
they
yourself
got a
on your
24,
knees
so I
and
went.
stood up with a
At the jack of hearts,
sprite
queen
me
of hearts.
jump.
So I got 20.
Already,
Stand.
let's get our wiggle on.
I got
Yes, sir.
21. Wow.
Sure should know something,
Okay.
surely.
I
Yes,
got.
sir. I doubt we're the
10.
only ones who come looking.
Oh no, they got 10.
Looky Lou
I got
in
20.
before.
I'm stand.
And Sheriff did say to come find him if we needed anything.
Oh.
Look at Lewin. Looky
Oh, 'cause
Lewin
it's
is a
11.
very cute word. I see.
You walk the same direction as you saw
got the
Sheriff
7 of
leave.
spades. Okay, so
down
that's
toward
10.
the closest edge of town through. I keep going into
I got
acting
17.
descriptions. Through what might be considered the main street, where this town bigger. Sheriff's
And?
office is modest, one of the smaller
got
buildings in
15,
town. A short square
18.
stone block
Okay,
with
so
barred
we got-
windows and a lopsided wooden door. As you get close
I
to
got
the squat
11.
building, Joseph slows down and raises an arm to your chest to slow you as well.
Ooh.
Okay, partner. What's the plan?
Oh, I was
You
higher.
and I both know Sheriff is going to be the most paranoid,
I
owl-headed
have
son of a
16,
gun
I'm
in
gonna
this
hit.
burg.
Oh,
We can't go waltzing in there
19.
shooting
I
our
will
mouths
not
off about just anything.
fight that.
Yeah, you're right. All we
Ooh.
really need to do is, if Sheriff is going to put up a fight. Somehow I feel like they're not your usual lawman. You look around thinking for a bit, two halves of a tattered sign swing in the wind on a chattering chain in front of the building. It seems it had said Sheriff once, and the edges of it had the remnants of bullet holes and shattered and charred wood. I say we tell him what's really happening. To call Joseph's face incredulous at that moment would have been an understatement. He scoffed a little out of curiosity, rubbing his chin with a feathered hand and trying to think what you could mean. What are you saying? We admit we're here, acknowledge the corn? Sort of. I think we can tell Sheriff that there's outlaws coming and we're worried, about the town. That's a dangerous play. Look, Sheriff is gonna have a good idea while we're snooping around if we don't have a simple, honest reason to throw off the scent. It's easier to lie when there's some truth to it. Joseph rubbed his chin again and sighed. I think so too, but I can't help to feel jumpy walking into the lion's den. You knew what he meant. For people like you, a sheriff's office was never where you wanted to wind up. Walking into the office together, Joseph ducks to clear the doorway. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to see something. Oh, wait, hold on. I see. Okay, sorry. I had to check something on Inkstream because she's playing Cult of the Lamb, and I was trying to make sure the extension was making sense. Okay. Walking into the office together, Joseph ducks to clear the doorway. You find the inside to be much more well kept than the outside, which had clearly seen some wear and tear in its time. Sunlight and dust in equal measures came in through the windows. Landing upon the desk of Sheriff, who was currently rapidly filing a piece of paper with a pencil in hand. After you close the door behind you, you both wait for a few seconds for Sheriff to notice you. Before you can politely knock on the closed door for attention, Sheriff raises a finger on a pencil holding hand to ask for a moment's more waiting. Aw. I like the Sheriff. They seem cute. Definitely drawn cute for sure. Okay. What? Hold on. The extension is not being friendly with me right now, actually. I will show you this actually right now. Just so that way. Oh my god, let me make sure that the audio is not showing up. It was always a tent, or just in your bedroll, lying beneath the stars. You see Sheriff and Bartholomew standing on the porch of the saloon talking intently, but can't pick up any clear words on the wind. Sheriff notices you both as you approach, patting Bartholomew on the back as he takes his leave back inside. Sheriff leaves the shade of the saloon's overhang, walking with purpose towards you both. The blue of the sky was starting to fade into oranges, pinks on the edges of the sparse and tiny clouds overhead. You both slow to a stop as Sheriff approaches you quickly. The face approaching you was different from before, and you see Joseph's face fall a little. Sheriff came to a stop in front of you both, twisting the cane in the dirt a little. The old and frail figure standing in front of you was shaking a tad. You could hear a slow and deliberate breaths from the chest. The usual confidence and bluster off of Joseph dissipated under his new glare of Sheriff's. The new and sharp eyes, unlike those you'd seen when you arrived. There was a tiredness in them, a fierce tiredness, beneath which was a wild look you'd only seen in the eyes of the newly grieving. Gripping the cane, scaled knuckles turning white, Sheriff spoke in a low and calm voice. Yeah, I should have known. Thought maybe I was wrong this time. Y'all seem so, I don't know, like you should be here. Even so, I knew there was something off with what you were asking. Is everything all right, Sheriff? We were just going to see if we could stay at the Sheriff slammed the cane onto the dirt with such force you feared it might crack the earth beneath. You know damn well things are not all right. I had a little chat with my friends around town talking about the newcomers, what they've been asking about, just passing through town. Give me a break. I should have known it was too good to be true. I know when I see the gold fever in them eyes. We're not here to cause trouble, Sheriff. We'll be on our way tomorrow morning. Really now? Well. Sheriff reached a free hand behind and pulled an old revolver to point at you. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it once. I made a promise to protect this town and the people who live here, that I would do what was right by them. So both of you are going to turn tail and leave. Right now, and you never come back. And if I ever see either you heading this way again, I will shoot you dead before nary fur or feather crosses that town line. You stood still next to Joseph, a small fear of walking taking hold as you feel like the wind might knock you off your feet. Understood, Sheriff. Joseph started walking away, not stopping for you even as you stood there a moment longer just to say one word. Sorry. You knew that didn't make up for it, but it was all you could muster for your tight throat. You turned quickly and walked away after Joseph with your head down, staring at your feet as they rhythmically sped one after another through the dust tracks of a town you couldn't come back to. The climb back out of the valley was quiet. The wind was the only noise to reach your ears, no words coming to pass between you and Joseph. Only the occasional meeting of the eyes when he looked to make sure you hadn't fallen behind. Those eyes, that face you had grown accustomed so quickly to having at least the hint of a smile resting, was devoid of much emotion at all. He wasn't thinking about it, you felt, but to not think about it meant to not think at all. And so he didn't, his limbs carrying him up the path, but no one was home. You understood, of course, as much as you'd like to not think about it either. You couldn't ignore the small dread in your chest. Like it was in the cavities of your inside, seeping around in between your organs, a creeping tar. Not a suffocating tar, just making you feel heavy, dense. If you stopped walking now, you didn't know if you'd start again. The sun was starting to dip into the horizon when you reached your original meeting spot at the top of the cliff. Both your horses were lying in the long shadows of some rocky mounds, your own shadows stretching across the sand as you go to tend to them. You both hauled your bedrolls off and started to unpack them, giving the horses some water and sorting through your belongings. Still without a word, a camp for the night quickly formed between you as you worked. Joseph had brought a thin metal stand with him to hang the cooking pot over and gently tossed you his book of matches as he erected it. You struck the match in a familiar fashion, placing it in the middle of a dried assortment, blowing gently to encourage the shy flame. Lifting your head back up from budding fire, Joseph was having a little issue getting his stand. His face was still the same neutral, empty face from before, and you noticed a little catch on a joint that hadn't flipped properly. You brought your hand up to flick it out the way. Either the lurch of the stand falling into place or the momentary touch of your hand against his seemed to jolt Joseph out of his listless state. Thank you. A small smile, just a small one, a weary and wary one, had returned to his face. You were glad to see it again. It was enough to make your chest a little lighter, the tar receding just a touch. With the fire lit, a modest plume of smoke started billowing in the sky and scattering into the fading sunlight. Joseph got up momentarily to rummage in one of his saddlebags, coming back with a tin and some bundled cloth. I've got some beans, some salted pork too. I'm not sure what you got with you. Oh right, yeah, hold on. You had plenty of water still, and if he was propping up the bulk of the meal, you had some molasses to add to. You brought them both over and let Joseph sitting on his bedroll he'd laid out now take the reins. Wasn't really a two-person job. With the beans gently cooking away, I think I turned the volume up too much. When the beans gently cooking now in the pot, you sat there lazily, stirring it with a spoon. You grabbed your bedroll and laid it out on the opposite side of the fire, squatting and dropping onto it with a thud, tucking your legs towards you, resting your head on your knees, holding them in your arms. Aww. The two of you sat like this a short while, watching the pot steaming away, the orange flames licking the underside of the well-used metal. You found yourself thinking about what happened in Clemency, without even realizing. The pang you felt in your stomach when Sheriff knew why you were there, the sharp chill that shot from your neck to your tail when the gun was pulled on you. You weren't scared of being shot. That wasn't it. That wasn't what set your palm into a cold sweat. It was something else. Something about having to leave that town. Sorry for letting you do so much of the talking today. I'm more of the quiet type. Sure you figured that out already. He flashed you a weak but genuine smile. Not like did us much good. It wasn't your fault, Joseph. Sheriff was paranoid and we were bound to be rumbled eventually. Besides, it doesn't really seem like there is any gold here, unless we feel like setting up a new mining operation. Yep. I'm sure a black vulture will love to hear that. Wasn't my fault, I'll say. He sighed, a sharp, exasperated exhale through his nose holes, one knee to his crossed legs, fidgeting and bouncing as he stirred the pot. You were a little taken aback that he seemed to be mocking what you said. Maybe it just wasn't what he wanted to hear right now. Still, you understood his frustration. What would your bosses think if we told them that what this place was like? Would they even believe us? Sorry. You were snapped from your thought by his apology, a slightly guilty look on his face, knowing he must have seen that he hurt your feelings a little. You're right, it's not my fault exactly, but hell, this is a mess, Coots. His fidgeting was spreading, playing across the feathered fingers of his wings, his face, his eyes, his knees again. Like a ragtime tune was playing all across the inside of his body. That is such a beautiful line. Like a ragtime tune was playing all across the inside of his body. I love that sentence. I love that a lot. What's he like, Black Vulture? He's, his breathing was ragged too. You got onto your knees and reached your hand onto his that was stirring the spoon even now. A gentle but firm grasp, stopping his motions. Your eyes met over the cooking pot. He looked like he was seeing you again for the first time in a long time. The shaking in his hand came to rest and relaxed his vice grip on the long spoon as you held each other's gaze. Let go. I'm here. It's all right. You nodded a few times, taking his hand away and resting on his haunches, stretching his legs out. A few moments passed as Joseph regained his calm, laid-back demeanor. One leg still bounced a little, in a quick rhythm, tapping a dance hall tune. The horse! The sun was almost gone now, the last dregs of its light in the desert turning everything in the distance a single dusty red. You could see the stars now as you looked to the sky, the light continuing to fade. More and more points of light dotting their way to the east. You turned your eyes away from the sky when you heard the sound of a penknife flicking open. Oh, don't mind me, Nan. Just doing a little preening. He started taking the knife gently to his wing, very gently. He seemed to be scraping away older feathers while also opening new
pin feathers, while also opening new pin feathers scattered across the wing, in motions almost like shaving. Forgive me if I'm talking out of line, but why don't you use your beak for that? Ah, well, Mama always told us you don't use your beak for things around anyone other than family or lovers. It ain't polite. He seemed a little sheepish admitting it, like it was an uncommon quirk of his family. You asked about Black Vulture, yeah? Don't you know the stories already? Yeah, but those are just stories. I know what it's like riding with someone with a few tall tales trailing behind them. Joseph snorted a little, still making his way across the wing with his small knife. Yep, that sounds about right. Pretty sure some of the more flattened ones I've heard were left behind by the vulture himself. You settled on the side of your legs a little, getting more comfortable as you kept stirring the ever-cooking pot. Where to begin with the man himself? Jeez. He's a real piece of work, that one. I can tell you that much for sure. He's a real city slicker. He's a city slicker that considers himself a cowboy, even though he hates getting his boots dirty. Acting all gentleman-like and such. A real flannel mouth. He'd charm the pants off of you if you had something he wanted. Then when he's got what he wants, he'd jab the knife towards you, pointedly. He'd stick you in the back and twist it hard to hear you cry. He turned the knife back to preening. He's a terrible shot, too. There are some stories that he could shoot the cap off a bottle without spilling it from 50 paces, but he ain't the sharpest shooter. Never. He's almost as bad as a shot as me. Got someone else for that. See, that's how you run in this posse. You make yourself indispensable. He tapped his knife on the ground through the word to make his point. His gang is on the smaller side, but they're plenty loyal. They need to be. There can't be anyone else. You're loyal then? I'm the eyes. I'm useful. I get on good with a lot of them, and Black Vulture keeps me around. Win-win. You understood what he's saying, what he meant, what he really wanted to say. You understood how it felt to be under that kind of looming shadow. Knowing for miles around, but don't say anything, just in case. You'd see what happens to other people. You both had, for sure. Joseph was far from a greenhorn as could be. He swapped hands and started the knife on his other wing now. So what about Curly Wolf? You said there were plenty of tall tales about him. Split fair with me. You didn't look at him when he asked you. You kept looking at the pot, peeking over to check the beans. This looks about done to me. Joseph stared at you for a moment when you did meet his eyes, and then closed up his knife, kneeling over to look with an approving whistle. Yeah, looks it to me. You laughed a little as his stomach gave a hearty growl, fetching the bowls and holding them while Joseph served you both a big slopping portion. Night had come now, and you both gathered a little closer around the fire and moved the pot stand to the side. You could see him easier now with it out of the way. With the pot lifted, the fire rose, dancing in the wind, sometimes hazing your view, the blur flitting in and out as you gazed eyes while you ate. Believe it or not, but I ain't the cookie back at camp. Someone else got that privilege. He was clearly joking, but the beans were some of the better you'd had. I never would have guessed. I don't cook that often, but I make some mean donuts from time to time. Oh, you do now. I'll have to try them then. I hope so. It was so selfish to ignore his question. Say nothing about Curly Wolf. So rude of you. You weren't raised like this. You couldn't though. Never. Or more like you didn't know what to say. How many years has it been now? Sorry, I should have said something when you asked about my boss. I get it. No, I mean, of course you do. But it's also that when I said I was the quiet type, it's more than that. If I'm shooting straight with you, I don't remember the last time I heard my own voice before today. At the camp, I might say yeah or no, but I don't really talk. Or I don't really talk. When I'm away on a lookout, there's just no one to talk to. I don't want to talk to myself and just be reminded I'm alone. I've never talked about him. I wouldn't. Joseph looked straight at you, even into you. It almost felt like you could see the fire between you in his eyes, flames fluttering across the irises. The intensity of his look gave way to something like relief. Nah, don't worry about being a quiet one. I think it's part of your charm. Aww! He blushed there. There are lots of wannabe tough guys who want to act like you with no sweat. That strong, silent type. Besides, guys back home are always telling me to shut up. Not that I give them the satisfaction. I can tell you that being quiet doesn't change things. Some horse shit regardless of whether you make a fuss. You sighed a long sigh. What words could you even use for a man like him? Curly Wolf is a bad egg. I think sometimes he was born like that. I know he can't have been, but I don't know what godforsaken things happened to him to turn him into what he is. He's probably the meanest, roughest bastard you'd ever meet. You ever have the misfortune of meeting. Anyone you can think of that you wouldn't want to run into, he's worse than that. I don't know about Black Vulture, but the stories Curly Wolf leaves behind, I don't think they even match up to how dangerous he is. I've seen him gun down traders, riding away on horseback 200 paces away. It's easy to get his dander up, and he's the last person you'd ever want to do that to. He'd make sure of it. Not the brightest you'd ever meet, but his instincts are keen. He never made an empty threat, and he'll happily get his hands dirty to make good on him. Shit. Black Vulture said before he'd be willing to pick a fight with Curly Wolf, but they've never met. Now I'm wondering if he has any idea what would get him into what that would get him into. He ain't stupid, but he's definitely too cocky for his own good. Oh, eat your bowl before it gets cold. Nothing worse than cold food. You did as he said, mulling over what you'd talk about while you ate. Joseph had a head start on you, but even so, his eating was voracious, and he finished before you were even halfway through yours. He sat back from his hunch over the bowl, wiping his beak on his arm. He looked around some, into the fire, out into the darkness of the desert, at you. You could tell he didn't want to stare, but his eyes took you in anyway, with long glances. He coughed, clearing his throat to stall for the words he was thinking of. Say, Coots, I wanted to ask. He grabbed his knife again, taking it to his wing once more, looking away as he asked a common question. Your arm, I hope you don't think me cruel for asking, but what happened? Did he do that to you? You were pretty used to the questions about it, but you appreciated the genuine warmth behind his words, at least. This old thing? Yeah, it wasn't pretty. It was a practical joke of sorts, if you'd call it that, by some of the guys during camp. Took my bandana and shoved it in the mouth of one of the horses. Egged me on like it to get it back. Reached my hand in, of course the horse gets all antsy and bites down and starts thrashing trying to get away. I don't remember much after that. Blacked out from the pain. Next thing I know, I'm being hauled to some doctor. Told me they had to amputate before it petrified. Joseph had stopped preening at this point, looking at you with some real watery eyes and a soft expression on his brow of both anger and horror. Got the banana. Not the banana! Got the bandana back, so, win some, lose some. I'm sorry. Nothing to be sorry for. Long time ago. You just live with it. Full and finished, you set aside your bowl, taking another appraisal of your surroundings. Looking up to the sky and its carpet of stars. It was quickly starting to get cold, so you got up and went to your horses, fishing some blankets out for them. Looking inside the bag, you couldn't find your usual extra blanket for yourself. Shit, must have forgotten to take it out before you left. You spied your binoculars in there, you took them, and walked to the edge of the cliff again. You were about to put them up to your eyes when you realized you didn't need them to see what was happening in Clemency. The whole town was dark, except for the bright lights prominently shining from the saloon. You saw the shallow silhouettes of people dancing play out across the street in front, and you listened very closely. Music. Seems like they're having a rip-roaring time. Yeah. I wonder if they would do it tonight, like Bartholomew mentioned. Why wouldn't they? What have they got to be worried about? His voice was a little cold, blunt. Ice cubes in a drink bumping your teeth as you sip. Out of all the towns I've been kicked out of and run out of, this is the only one I'd want to come back to. This place ain't for us. We're trouble, Boots. We're no good to these folks. Tomorrow we'll be gone. We'll tell our bosses we didn't find anything, and if we're lucky, they'll just go on their way. Maybe another life. We could have gone back there. It would have been nice. But this is our life. Our only one. It is what it is. We move on. That's how we live. You could feel the wind blowing behind you, ruffling your trousers, whistling past your ears, as it seemed to push you towards the edge of the cliff. Yeah, I guess it is. The wind kept howling, picking up and dying down, whistling off the valley and kicking up clouds of dust around the buildings down below. Curly Wolf is gonna ransack this place, even if they don't have anything. And what do you want me to do about it, huh, Coots? It's not my problem. You feel now the desert night on you, your fingers, the tips of your ears, starting to feel the tenderness of the cold and the wind. You were shivering. You shouldn't have talked back to him. You knew how that always went. It never ended well. You just made him feel worse, like it was his fault.
Why should he have to listen to your stupid concerns? It was your shit to figure out. He owes you nothing. You just met. You don't know each other. If it weren't for your convenience, fuck. If it weren't for convenience, you would have shot each other hours ago. You heard the sound of shuffling behind you as he got up. He started walking towards you. Here it came, as you knew it would. You tense up as he approaches, closing the distance, expecting the due anger. Closing your eyes when you feel him at your back, ready for the blow that's coming. You flinch when you feel a weight around your shoulders, a squeeze of them too that you expect to hurt, but is so tender it couldn't possibly. Opening your eyes, you see a thick blanket draped around you, down to your knees. You looked cold. Don't want to get consumption just standing there. You know how cold the desert gets. You drop the binoculars gingerly by its strap to the floor, now clasping the edges of the blanket with your hand tighter around you. You could feel how cold your fingers were just below your chin, almost numb. How long had you been standing here for? I'm dreadfully sorry. You got nothing to be sorry for. You and he sat back down by the fire, Joseph giving it a 1,000-yard stare. Thank you. Nothing to it. Get warm. You pull the blanket tight again, and the desert chills still sweeping underneath. Are you not cold? I've been around the fire all night, haven't I? I'm fine. He's lying. You can see his feathers twitch and shiver, but he's trying hard to hide it. You wonder the truth of what he said, too, that we just had to move on. Standing up with the blanket, you walk around the fire, standing over him a moment as he looks up towards you with wide eyes. You sweep the blanket around him and sit down, shoulder to shoulder. You're right. He's definitely cold, but a lot warmer than you'd imagined. Aww. Good for you guys. I told you I'm fine. Don't give me that blow, tough guy. I know you're not. He looks like he's going to say something, but just shuts his beak. He suddenly seems a lot warmer. I'm sorry. I didn't mean what I said. I know. That wasn't the fella I've been around all day. I'm just scared. He nods softly as to be almost unnoticeable. Yeah, more scared than I have ever been. Together you huddle, bringing the blanket tighter and tighter, and moving closer to each other. He smells like the desert, dusty and sweaty. Why is this so warm? Why do you feel like this? Not warm like you're around a fire, but like there's a fire inside you. Warm coals shifting round inside and embers spitting in your throat. Have you ever felt like this before? Joseph, he looks at you. Your faces so close together. You lean your head into his shoulder, staring into the wild dance of the fire. I haven't met someone like me before, or someone like you. You're extremely kind, even to a stranger like me. I wish I could know you more. I wish I could know you more than these few hours. I know I have to ride back in the morning, but all the hopes I've hoped, the strongest is that I could just stay here, that the sun would never rise. I don't want to go back. You stay clinging to him. After a few moments, he pulls you tighter. I have to say, I feel the same way. I can see in you someone who's faced so many hardships. Someone who deserves better, who's worked harder than any of the lump suckers back where you've come from. We're a couple of queer fish in a barrel, I'd say. Lord knows how we found each other. The sun will come up again, and we'll have to go our separate ways. We don't have another choice. I just wish it wasn't so. I wish. You lift your head to look at him, but he just gives you a look and turns back to the fire. What are you thinking? He sighs, wearily like he's been asked to carry the world on his back. It's a flight of fancy, that's all. It's not realistic. You look at him curiously, catching his eyes. He looks at you, almost for approval, before he thinks about what he wants to say. I wish we could run away. That's it. The two of us, far away from everyone and everything. Right east, till we know no one's chasing us. That sounds nice. You both cuddle for a little while longer, sitting close and resting your heads together. The thoughts of running away tick over in your mind. Is that what you want? As if he could read your mind, Joseph asked, what do you want to do? You thought more. No one ever really asked you that, and even so, you knew you wanted to say, I'm tired of running, Joseph. I want to fight. I want to kill Curly Wolf. Really? It's the only way I can think of to be free of him. You know as well as I do, you don't get to just up and leave. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to be free of Black Vulture too, but do you think that's something you could do? Kill him? I can't do it alone. Our gangs, Joseph, they're going to destroy this town. And after, if we ran away, we'd never be safe. We'd be looking over our shoulders the rest of our lives. I don't want to run away from things anymore. I want to run towards a better life. With you. Joseph's eyes were sympathetic, but his expression was of discomfort. I think you're right, and I do want to help you, but I'm useless in a fight. I can't shoot straight. I don't want to die, Coots. I wouldn't let that happen. I'll keep you safe. We can keep each other safe. We haven't been living our lives, Joseph. Just surviving. Something better than that is worth dying for, I think. The fight feels inevitable. We should face it. You really that desperate to get out? You nod, head held against his shoulder. He sighs that same sigh again, long and heavy, almost theatrical if it weren't for the stakes laid out before you both. I think you're right. A chance like this won't come again. I might even be tempted to call it fate. We should talk to the sheriff again, I think. Somehow if we can. He yawns. I don't know what we're gonna do, but we ain't gonna figure it out when we're bone tired. We should get some sleep. Come morning we'll talk more. Figure something out, and then hope on a kiss and a prayer that we might make it out alive. He chuckles. Ain't that the story of our lives? This will be the last time we have to fight like that. I swear it. You both fall asleep against each other, dreaming of that promise, praying for a better tomorrow, and willing to fight for it. Aww. This is a very cute romance story. It's a very cute romance. I just realized story was like repeating. It wasn't the red morning sun. It wasn't the red morning sun now risen just above the horizon that had woken you. Nor was it the gentle slumbering breath of Joseph against your neck, doing its best to lull you back to sleep. What woke you wasn't even the familiar crick at the base of your tail from sleeping on the bedroll, a stiffness you couldn't wait to stretch out. It was your thoughts. All the thoughts in your mind, like so many wild horses running, of what may come next. Well, you both had to. The nights spent on a lookout were better than the sleepless nights back at the camp, but you still dreaded the dawn that came after. At least you had Joseph this time. At least you had him for what was to come, you hoped. You could feel one big wing of his wrapped around your stomach, shifting as he started to wake too now. As much as you wanted to keep lying here with him for just a few more minutes, you knew you had to get up. Coffee wouldn't brew itself. You peeled back the blanket a little as you could let yourself escape, gingerly untucking Joseph's fingers from your side. Sliding off the bedroll and through the dirt, you let Joseph's arms down gently. Crouching low on your knees, you gave his hand a gentle squeeze, feeling the soft, dry, dusty feathers beneath your fingertips. Holding this moment in your head, that it might stay there, you stood up, dusting yourself off everywhere you could. Time to get ready. Even with Joseph here, your morning routine was mostly the same, just doubled, you suppose. Feed and water the horses, both of them. Make a pot of coffee, double the amounts though. Let it brew for a little longer too, on the same fire as you used last night together. You kept thinking while the coffee boiled. There were many things you didn't have time to think about yet. Even so, unimportant thoughts still rose. An unimportant thought that kept bubbling up was how nice it was to not have the usual knot in your stomach. The tightness that twisted every time at camp when you had to get food or drink to use the same tools in the same space as the others. It was nice not to have to worry right now, you thought, about sharing this. Joseph wouldn't complain about having to get coffee from the same pot as you. He wouldn't get angry that you were handling his stuff. Could it have always been this easy? Your stomach rumbling snapped you from your thoughts. Of course you'd forgotten breakfast. You went back to your bag and unwrapped some salted pork and holding it between your teeth, tearing a chunk off. You always liked how chewy it was when you weren't in a rush. The rhythm of your jaw grinding it up helped you think. Possibilities were rolling around in your mind. Dice cast along the branches of a tree. How things might play out. Although you couldn't keep it to yourself for now, for better or for worse, this was about the two of you. There was both weight and comfort in that thought. As you watched the pot start to boil and steam, you heard the sound of sleepy shuffling, turning to see a waking Joseph. He was propped up on one elbow, blearily trying to figure out what was in front of him, rubbing his eyes with one winged hand.
You saw his pupils contract to the morning sun that was getting brighter and brighter, focusing on you. Good morning, partner. Is that the sweet smell of coffee you're brewing? Not sure I'd call it sweet. You looked into the pot at the dark brown tar-like substance, regretting the large snoutful you got of its acid, bitter scent. Well, the idea's sweet, to me at least. Stuff's damn near magic, far as I'm concerned. With surprising energy for someone who had just woken up, Joseph whipped the blanket off of him and standing and dusting himself off. You watched still as he stretched. His fingers locked together, wings pushed and pulled in front and behind. The way the feathers of his neck parted and ruffled as he rolled his head around his shoulders. The hem of his shirt, usually tucked in, now loose after a night's sleep, rising ever so slightly as he twisted his belly. His body. Twisted his belly. I said belly because I was imagining when someone stretches their shirt untucks and you see their belly. That's so funny. I literally can't believe I just did that. He sighed as he finished, wings on his hips, and met eyes with you. What are you looking at? Nothing. Uh-huh. A shy smirk crept across his face as he tucked his shirt back in and walked over to you. What you eating? Salt pork? There's some in my bag if you want. I think I will. Thank you kindly. Can you get some cups too? This coffee looks about done. You looked behind you at Joseph, crouched as he dug into your bag, giving you a quick thumbs up. You turned to the pot again, stirred it with the spoon a little. Joseph came back around and sat beside you, setting 2 tin cups on the ground with one hand. His beak tore at the piece of jerky in his other hand, hungrily swallowing it down after a few chews. He picked up the pot and poured you both a hot cup, eagerly tapping his cup with yours before drinking. Cheers! You both sipped quietly. You could feel the heat of the coffee traveling all the way down your gullet, burning in your belly. How'd you sleep? Good, like a pup. Didn't wake once. Me too. Slept better than that. Slept better than even that hotel I stayed in one time. I swear, the sheets on that bed were the softest darn thing I'd ever touched. Sounds nice. It was. Last night was nicer, mind you. Another silence between you now. Likely you were both thinking the same thing. Thinking about last night, what you talked about. Silence because if neither of you spoke, maybe nothing would happen. Maybe the world would stop turning and the sun would stop rising. Of course, it still does. You can see it, charting its course away from one horizon to the next. So, what's our plan? Joseph shuffled a little, legs restless. We kill Curly Wolf and Black Vulture. That's what we said, right? You nodded. Maybe we don't have to. We could just run away. We talked about that, Joseph. If we run away, we'll spend the rest of our lives looking over our shoulders. We'll never really be safe. Yeah, you're right. Besides, have you not ever thought about it? Of course I have. It's not that simple, though. Everyone's around him is loyal. It'd be hard to even get the chance. Even if I killed him, he wouldn't get away with my life. Oh, I wouldn't get away with my life. And even when I've thought about it, the thought of that ideal world where he's got a bullet in his brain, I'm home free, there's nothing after, Coots. I could never see what would happen in the rest of my life. It was blank. Just the desert. If you were to kill him now, what do you see? Joseph looked around thinking. The feathers on his face fluttered in the wind. Something, I suppose? Not nothing, at least. I think maybe I can trust that. Are we really going to be able to kill him? Kill him, though? I don't know. They bleed and die like anyone else. It's just hard to get a chance. At some point, our gangs are going to go to clemency and take us with them, whether we like it or not. I think we should try to use that to our advantage. Unfamiliar place for them, at least. What about everyone in town? They shouldn't have to be involved with this. They're already involved. We can't change that. I just wonder if any of them would help us. I doubt it. Do you think? You looked at Joseph, and he turned to look at you, his brow furrowed. Sheriff? You felt a cold dread wash over you, even in the heat of the morning sun. No, I don't think Sheriff wants anything to do with us. We'd be dead before we even crossed the town line, remember? I know. It's just, there was something about it, how Sheriff was when we were told to leave. I don't know if I fully believed it. Sorry, Joseph. I think that's just wishful thinking. Hey, you listen to me now. I ain't making it up. His voice was suddenly sterner, the timidness that had been in his voice now gone. I'm telling you, Sheriff. I don't think Sheriff wanted to tell us to leave. There was something far too sad about it. You saw it too, right? I'm not imagining it. You might have not saw it though. You thought back. It hurt too much to dwell on it, but now you thought about it, you had to agree. It wasn't like the other times when you'd been exiled or barred from places.
There was anger, but there was also frustration, disappointment. That wasn't normal. You might be right. Even so, I don't think we can go waltzing back into Clemency and expect Sheriff to welcome us with open arms. We still don't even have a plan. I think we need to talk to Sheriff, even if we don't have a plan. Sheriff needs to know what's coming. Yeah, you're right. I just don't know how. We need to get to the Sheriff without being seen, ideally. I don't want to risk getting shot, however unlikely, without being seen. You set your coffee down, getting up, and walking to the edge of the cliff. You didn't need binoculars to see the shape of the town from up here, how the land moved and shallowed down towards the buildings. You looked along the cliff in the opposite direction to where you'd gone yesterday. Hey, Joseph. I think if we ride our horses this way, we could maybe get to the town from the back. Sheriff's office is at the back of the town there. If we surrender ourselves, we might get to talk to Sheriff. Joseph got up from where he was and walked over to you, looking along the cliff where you were pointing, sipping his coffee. Yeah, that could work. What, not a fan of the idea? Oh no, we can do that. This coffee is just mighty vile. He held the cup over the edge and tipped it upside down, the brown sludge falling into the sand below. Let's get going. We don't have much time before both of us will be needing to head back to our gangs. Yeah, of course. You took one last look along the cliff face and started helping Joseph clear up the camp, making haste to get on your horses. This game was a lot longer than I thought, but it's so nice. So I'm okay with that. You rode as quick as you could down the cliff face, taking a long route around the back of the town. Climbing off your horses, you tied them up out of sight behind a rocky outcropping. You started your cautious walk to the edge of the town together, cautious about being spotted. Sheriff's office was right in front of you, the squat building backing up onto the side of the desert. 2 square windows were cut into the space of the building, holes in the frame of where bars once were. As you got closer, you listened out for anything that might tell you where Sheriff was. The rhythmic tapping of wood carried onto the wind to you from the point. The rhythmic tapping of wood carried on the wind to you from the front porch. Carefully, you and Joseph sidled up to the building. Sticking close to the side, you shuffled along the stone wall, cold in the shade. At the edge, you slowly peeked your head out, squinting through the morning sun. Sheriff was sitting on the porch, outside, looking out into the town, cane tapping idly on the wooden boards. You hadn't been noticed. You hadn't been noticed yet. You pulled your head back and nodded to Joseph, him nodding back in turn. You both drew your guns back to the wall and called out, "Sheriff?" You hear the panicked sheriff shuffling of someone getting out of their chair and the cocking of a gun. "Who goes there?" "It's us, Sheriff, Joseph and Coots. We mean no harm." As you heard Sheriff's footsteps coming towards you, around the corner, you both put your hands up, guns hanging limply from the fingertips. You stepped back from the building and out of the shade as Sheriff came to face you, a gun loosely pointed in your direction. "What am I looking at here? Why are you back? Are you surrendering?" "Yeah, kinda. Sheriff, we need to talk. For real this time." "Oh yeah? And I'm supposed to believe any collywobble you say now, am I?" "No, we know we betrayed your trust. We lied to you about why we were here, but we didn't lie about the danger to the town. We're asking you for a chance to explain ourselves." Sheriff's brow was furrowed. You could see that even under the tough and scaled skin, a few moments of silence passed between you. Sheriff holstered the gun slowly and calmly. The click of it uncocking, letting you breathe freely again. "Come into the office then, if we have things to discuss." You gave each other a look of relief as Sheriff turned to walk back. You put your guns away as well and followed the lizard around. The office was darker inside than yesterday. The morning sun was not shining in the same way. Sheriff stood with both hands on the cane, face curious and stern, still untrusting. "So boys, what do we need to talk about?" You looked at Joseph and he met your eyes. They were darting about in the small way they do, even when you're focusing on a point. He gave you a little wink. That was all you needed. "Yesterday, when we told you about those outlaws heading here, that wasn't a lie. Or I guess it was a white lie. Our gangs know about this place, and they're gonna be coming here, gold or not. So you were scouting our town out. Making sense? Oh my fuck. So you were scouting our town out. Makes sense. Still, I don't see what's stopping you from lying about this town. You both know we can't do much to defend ourselves from a whole gang. So frankly, if I'm picking up what you're putting down, you don't want to hurt us, then just lie to them. Tell them we're armed to the teeth. Scare them off. They won't be stupid enough to still try. I guess we could, but what? Look, I appreciate you trying to come clean and help somehow, but this ain't our business, you see? It's not one gang, it's two. I'm from the Curly Wolf gang, and I'm from Black Vultures. You're from two different gangs? Well, I'll be damned. You seem so friendly with each other. Thing is, Sheriff, we don't want to work for him anymore. Curly Wolf and Black Vulture. We want to kill him. We need each other's help to do that. We can't do it alone, you see? Your heart was beating fast in your chest. Saying it, Sheriff, changed things. Before you could convince yourself otherwise, you took Joseph's hand in yours, squeezing it tight as you stood next to him. Yeah, besides, there's no guarantee we'd be able to convince him not to come here, even if we did lie to him. We need your help too, Sheriff. Sheriff's face remained stern, or maybe concerned, you thought. Eyebrows flat across the eyes, thinking. You boys sure about this? This is what you have to do? Yes. Yeah. Joseph's hand moved, ensuring the grip of his fingers interlocked with yours. Psh, getting a little old for things like this, but alright. I can't, in good conscience, endanger the people in this town, but I think I might be able to help. Sheriff got up and started pacing. So your two gangs, they're both gonna come here. Yeah, I know Curly Wolf for sure. Black Vulture is bored and can tell, and I can tell. He's itching to do something. Any history between them? Any scuffles? Would they fight, or maybe truce if they met? Black Vulture has said before he'd fight Curly Wolf, but I don't know if Curly ever knows he exists. Curly Wolf wouldn't work with another gang unless he had to. I don't think he'd give up this place so easily. Seems to me like them meeting up would be beneficial to your goals, don't you agree? A fight between them would be chaotic, but maybe that's what we need. Someone might even finish them off for us. It would be dangerous for us though, too. Well now, hold on. When do the lookouts get caught in the scuffle? Almost never. Unless we started. If anything, we should be oh my fuck. If anything, we should be the safest ones of the bunch. You're right. If you can delay their arrivals, then I might have a solution for you. Clemency gets supplies monthly. They arrive by train about a day and a half ride from here. That's where the nearest station is. Since it's a whole town's supplies and the trip is long, everyone in Clemency goes in a wagon together. Easiest and safest ways for all of us. As luck would have it, that's in 3 days. So the town will be completely empty? Not a soul, I can guarantee that. We ride early in the morning, ain't back till the next day. You get your gangs out here on that day and do whatever you need to. Best I can come up with on short notice. Back at work. Not like we have any other plan, and anything could happen, but it's better than nothing. Things were happening so fast. Sheriff really wanted to help. This was incredible. Was this really happening? Was this something you could do? 3 days, right? We need to both be here in 3 days. Yep. Do you think you can do that? I think we can. Joseph looked at you, both of you, holding each other's hands tighter. We have to. Good. And thank you for trusting me with this. You took a real gamble coming back here. No, thank you, Sheriff. Really and truly. I hope to see you again when this is over. God willing. You'll make good on that promise. For sure. I think we both need to get going now. We'll be expected back today. Yeah, we need to start riding soon. Godspeed then, both of you. Keep yourselves safe. You felt sick to your stomach and light on your feet. You nodded at Sheriff and left, still holding Joseph's hand. Aw! They're holding hands. Back with your horses, you made last-minute checks on your bags, ensuring everything was secure for the long trip back. 3 days from now. 3 days from now, you'd be back. Both of you. Some part of you dreaded needing to start this journey, lingering on the feeling of standing here, not moving. So much had changed since you got here. Now you might be risking it all. Doesn't feel fair. The idea of losing something you only just found. Only just got the chance for. You shoved it down though. The ride back was long. You didn't need that kind of worry gnawing at your heart. Pity for you that every time you saw his face, even a glance as you checked your saddle, it all came rising to the top once more. Like a drowning man pushed under the waves, breaching the surface again as he refuses to sink. I think I'm all ready. Me too. Joseph stood by your side now, waiting for you to turn and look at him. You contemplated just getting in the saddle, not lingering for longer than you had to. You felt the light touch of his hand on your shoulder. Twisting.
Twisting and pressing your face now over his shoulder, arms clinging around your side, you were holding him before you could think. Aww. I thought they were kissing for a second. Joseph said nothing. He did nothing too, for a moment, until you felt the weight of his arms on your back tightly clinging to you. Your hand took a great fistful of his clothes between your fingers where they lay, and as you held him tighter, he squeezed you even more. You wouldn't care right now if he squeezed you hard enough to break a rib. Feathers on his neck tickled your face and poked your closed eye. You could feel the way his back bent as he leaned ever so slightly over you. You don't know how long the hug lasted, but eventually you let go. You could feel imprints on your skin from where the hardness of his clothes, his buttons, his belt had dug into you. Still, you didn't mind. He held you still, facing each other, holding each other's arms, looking at each other. Joseph's eyes flicked around your face and to the top of your head, holding his gaze there for a moment before leaning in. You felt the gentle prod of his beak on your scalp and the sharp edges tugging at your fur. He preened through a few more times, pulling gently and splitting the loose hairs to the side, or yeah, whatever. Done. He pulled back, his face a little sheepish. There, that's better. Need to look your best when you go back. You thought your mama said it was impolite to use your beak, Well, she's not here. Besides, I think you fit the criteria. Thank you. Your cheeks were hot and flushed with what felt like all the blood in your body. You were sure you could see the same under his feathers. I'll see you in 3 days, you hear? Yeah. We'll kill those bastards. Yeah. You nodded. His hands trailed your arms as he walked away to his horse. You got up to your saddle too, the reins familiar to your hand. Joseph trotted his horse round up alongside you, facing the opposite way. Well, partner, time to go. Wait, Joseph, just promise me if something goes wrong, you'll run. Promise? Killing them isn't worth it if you die too. If you run, I'll run. They ain't worth the effort to die. You smile at him with the same type of smile as when you left home. Weak and worn, but relieved all the time. All the same. Goodbye, Coots. See you soon, Joseph. You both started your horses moving, gently trotting until you were no longer beside each other. You heard Joseph give a I'm assuming it's the like whiplash sound of like yeah, but it's like a bird. So it's yeah. And his horse set off at its speed, kicking up dust into the air when you looked behind you. Wait, why are we back in town? You set your own horse into a gallop, the rush of the wind in your ears as you rode through and out of Clemency, back to your gang, back to the man you were plotting to kill. Oh, I didn't realize it was through the town. The midday sun hung harsh and bright in the sky as you made it back to the camp. You and your horse both tired from the ride. The current hideout of Curly Wolf and Co. was a ramshackle affair nestled in the depths of rolling hills, hidden from the sight of any passerby. Riding slowly in, you climbed off your horse onto the sun-baked ground and led it over to tie it up with the others. The smell of food wafted, but you could see people cleaning up already. You'd missed lunch. As you made to lead the horse, a sudden thought struck you, and you doubled back to scramble about in your bag. Where was it? You hadn't left it behind, surely. The trickle of panic that had started to leak into your chest thankfully stopped as your fingers felt the soft brush of what you were looking for. Aww, the feather! You pulled the feather Joseph gave you out of your bag, holding it closely to yourself. You let out a short gasp of a sigh. Oi, tomboy! Your ears pricked up and you stood up straight at the sound of Curly Wolf shouting at you. You hastily tucked the feather away in your pocket. You turned and made your way over to Curly, eyes down at the ground, avoiding the looks of the others. You know how things work round here, don't you, tomboy? Yes. Curly grabbed a handful of your poncho, pulling you forward, stumbling, before roughly shoving you off your feet onto your back. You'd learn how to take a fall by now. You didn't scramble, you just let yourself lay in the dirt for a moment, waiting. Get up. You pressed your hand to the ground and got up, not too fast and not too slow. The others still got a laugh out of this routine, but you were too bored of it to be embarrassed anymore. If you know how things work, then I shouldn't have to punish you for not doing what you're told. When you come back, you come straight to me with what you found. You don't stand around playing with your little horsey. Yes, boss. Right. Come on then, spit it out. I found the town. A place called Clemency. It's got some gold from mines, but no bank or anything like that. What would you say now? If Curly knew Sheriff was the only person there who even resembles a lawman, he'd just go barging right in. This lie was crucial. He couldn't catch you out. The place looked armed to the teeth. Even so, all the townsfolk had some way of defending themselves. No gun laws like other places. Well, shit. Was hoping it'd be a breeze. Oh, well, shit. Was hoping it'd be a breeze. We need an easy win right now. I found from the sheriff that the place is gonna be empty soon. You were focused on a hill in the distance, not daring to look directly at him. Still on the edge of your vision, you could see Curly's eyes narrowed, staring at your face, studying it. How come? Overheard that they retrieve supplies for the town every so often. The next caravan drive is in 3 days. Whole town is gonna be going. It'll be empty and unguarded. The suspicion in Curly's eyes melted in a smugness, and a grin split his face from ear to ear. Hot damn, now that is an easy win. He turned his face away from you, shouting into the air of the camp. Boys! 3 days from now, we're going to be rich! He walked away around the camp, kept talking, hyping it up, riling everyone up for what was to come. You didn't need to listen anymore. Your job was done for now. You went back to being invisible, staying out of the way, the usual. That night, the hills were full of the sound of howling, cheering, drunken songs as the Curly Wolf gang prematurely celebrated their victory. This was a bigger deal than you had maybe anticipated. In any case, your goal was the same, and they didn't know what was coming. Curly Wolf didn't know what was coming. He was the cockiest you'd ever seen him. The days after were a blur. If you weren't needed to help with some menial work somewhere in camp, you were just sleeping in your tent, trying to avoid the blazing heat, keeping out everyone's way, like you always did. Waiting, just like everyone else, for the day you'd ride out. On the night before you were due to leave, you snuck out of your tent, out to where no one would see you. Away from the camp, the sounds of it echoing lightly through the air. You clambered halfway down a hill and sat. You didn't do this often. Who knew when someone might come to your tent, needing to drag you away for something? You couldn't risk it often, being unfindable. But you thought it was important enough to do tonight. To come out here and breathe in the cool night air, to stare into the sky across the horizon, at the blanket of stars in the sky, trying to pinpoint constellations you were told about when you were much younger. You wondered if Joseph knew any. You didn't think about it at the time. The feather was in your pocket still, the safest place you could think to keep it. At night, when the lights were out and the tent was filled with the sound of someone snoring, you'd hold it in your hand, flicking through it with the claws of your thumb, feeling the smoothness against your fingers just for a bit before you put it back. It helped you get to sleep. Again, now, while you were alone and sitting under the stars, you pulled it out of your pocket, fiddling with it in your hand, feeling it tickle the pads of your palm. Your mind wanted to wander, to think about important things, to think about all the ways tomorrow could go wrong. Think about what might happen to you both. You didn't let it. The feather helped too. For once you just let yourself be calm. You'll see him tomorrow. Until then, worrying would do you no good. You imagined that was the kind of thing he'd say to you, if he were here, sitting next to you. The imagined weight of his head on your shoulder, the thought of his warmth settled up next to you. All the things you wouldn't feel again if you lost him. Oh. Well, don't phrase it like that, like you lost him. You haven't lost him yet. You got time. You'll see him tomorrow. Exactly, you'll see him tomorrow. It's the morning. You're awake early. You didn't sleep much anyway, as much as you tried to. The sun was as bright as always, coming through the yellowed fabric of the tent. You laid awake, waiting for others to get up, waiting for Curly Wolf. He'd start rallying guys together for the ride to Clemency soon enough. You needed to make sure you were there. The minutes ticked by and you heard more people get up, the camp coming to life once more with the sounds of work and talk. You got up and got yourself ready, sitting on your bedroll after and waiting more. Then the voice of Curly Wolf. All right, boys, gather round. We're heading to the town of Clemency this morning. I need 10 or so men with me to haul valuables.
It's around half a day's ride from here. Who's coming to get our gold? You heard all this as you were leaving your tent, making your way to the small crowd of canines. Instantly, there were people joining, eager to prove themselves to get their hands on real gold. 1, 2, 3 already. You subtly pushed your way through the crowd, trying to reach the front. Pushed out the edge of the crowd by the huddling bodies, you found yourselves standing in front of Curly. He stared at you even as he clapped the hands and shoulders of other guys walking past, joining the excitable group. What you standing there for, tomboy? We don't need any little pups to help shift the goods. You need to be on this crew. You couldn't talk back to him, though. You didn't know what to say. What could you say? You just kept standing there. You think you're gonna be of any help with this scrawny stick? He grabbed your arm, raising it up and down, shaking it by the wrist. Every inch of you was screaming to snatch your arm from his hand, but you knew what would happen if you did. He threw your arm back at you, making you stumble a little. Go make yourself useful someplace else. I need some real men for this trip. You had to say something. You had to. You had to. You had to be there. You'll need a lookout. He was looking at the assembled group, doing a quick head count. Alright boys, that's 10. Be ready to move out in 5 minutes. He didn't seem to hear you. Your words were quiet, whispered. You tried again. You'll need a lookout, Curly. His ears twitched. He still didn't turn to face you. I heard you the first time. Stop yapping at me about bullshit. We don't know when the folks will be back. It'll be bad if they come back while you're there, and even worse if there's no one keeping an eye out. Y'all will have your hands full already. You heard him sigh, and a little growl rose in his throat. Before it subsided into nothing. Fine then, tomboy. If you're that eager to come, I suppose I'll have to let you. You're riding in the wagon. You don't need a horse. No, you didn't get that privilege when the other people needed them, you supposed. The wagon was fine by you. You knew it was a punishment of kinds, that you'd be riding in it on the way back too, along with everything else. Boxes and sacks and supplies and whatnot, all bumping about, hoping none of them fall over and hit you. Cramped space with nowhere to sit or lie, just standing for hours waiting for it to stop. Get a move on. You followed after Curly to get ready. Of course, what Curly didn't know was that you weren't going to be coming back here. Neither of you were. Ooh. I like how that's phrased. From where you sat, slumped in the corner of the wagon, the wind whistled through the gaps in the canvas next to your head. The edges flapped, the wind ruffling your clothes and your fur, drying up your nose as you sit with your knees up. The wagon rocks and bumps as it's dragged by horse through the desert, and this corner is the only place you feel safe enough to stay. You could at least keep yourself steady, even as it tried to knock you about, clinging onto the wooden frame. Looking toward the entrance of the wagon where the covering split down the middle, you couldn't see much. Or rather, what you could see were great clouds of dust billowing out from the wheels and into the dry air. As uncomfortable as the wagon was, at least it provided you shelter from the sun, unlike riding on horseback. The winds coursing past your ears were welcome to, cooling your head that was swimming with thoughts. You knew you were close to Clemency now. The entourage had been traveling long enough. As you got closer and closer, the minutes stretched on. You felt sick to your stomach. Less so butterflies and more like hornets. This is gonna be it. This is what you've been waiting for. Not just for days, but years, really. A chance like this. All the anxieties and concerns you'd pushed down last night were rushing back up, like geysers. What if Joseph wasn't there? What if his gang wasn't there? What if you reach Clemency and Curly realizes you were lying? What if you couldn't kill them both? Or if they demolished the town and Sheriff came back to find nothing left? To find you'd broken your promise? What if you were killed, quickly or slowly? You'd seen Curly kill traders before. The simple fear of dying took hold of your heart. The chill of the Reaper's shadow. No, this wasn't going to be it. This isn't all there was going to be. You'd see him again soon. You'd do what you had to together. This wasn't going to be it. There'd be more after. It was hard for you to imagine, but you knew it'd be true. You knew it to be true. There'd be days after today. You wanted to see them. And if you die, at least it was for a reason. You sure as hell weren't going to go out without a fight. This was a risk you'd always be willing to take. You and Joseph would take it together, and you were going to see it through. You steeled your resolve, locking the furnace of your heart so that no one may put it out. The rumble of the wagon started to slow. The rocking back and forth became gentler and gentler, until everything came to a stop with a small lurch. The constant motion that had been in your body was gone all of a sudden. Everything seemed impossibly still, like when the many conversations in a bar all died down suddenly, leaving it quiet in a strange moment. You heard the thud of Curly jumping off of his horse and crawled the floor of the wagon to the front. Curly came and opened the low wooden door, letting you slide out of the wagon and jump out. The light of the late morning sun was blinding, and you held your arm over your brow to shelter your eyes. As your eyes adjusted, the bright desert became clearer. Hazy rock formations in the distance became familiar. Walking around the wagon, you saw the shapes of buildings that set your teeth on edge. The town of Clemency. Here we are, boys, with what a shithole. No one here, at least. We'll take what we're here for and leave sharpish. Won't know what hit 'em. Ain't that right, tall boy? He slapped you hard on the back. There was an anticipation in the air amongst yourselves. This was the place they'd been waiting for. You'd been waiting for it too, but the anticipation was not one of eagerness. Even in your brief visit, many things had happened. In some way, being back in Clemency was comforting. Despite that, you couldn't ignore the chill in your veins at the prospect of what will come next. There was no backing out now. It felt like those few times in the past when the fuse on a stick of a dynamite had been lit, and you were still holding it. There was only going to be a few moments more until the spark reached the end of the wick. Whoa! What a squad! Curly started walking into town, and you followed suit with everyone else, staying close behind him. Clemency was dead quiet and not a soul in sight, just like Sarah said it'd be. You studied the town as you walked down the main street, peering through windows and drawing up plans in his head. Every building you walked past filled you with a little more fear. You were still waiting for something to happen, for anyone else to appear. Soon enough, Curly would want to get started for real and ask you where the gold was supposed to be. Then at the end of the street, you saw what you were waiting for. Who you were waiting for. A hazy, clumped group of guys making their way onto the main street from the other side of town. As they got closer, it became clearer. The figure of a tall and slender bird, with many others in tow straggling behind him, much like you behind Curly. Is this you? Our mans? Curly stopped as he spotted the group too, staring them down. Ooh. Now, who the hell is that in my town? He started walking again with purpose and menace, and they quickened their pace and turned towards you. You felt your heart beating in your chest now, reaching up to your throat, blood rushing, adrenaline starting to build in you. They were really here, and you could see Curly wasn't happy about it. Both sides slowed as they came closer to each other, coming to a stop halfway down the street, a few dozen paces between them. Not too close, not too far. You saw Black Vulture much more clearly now. He was looking with intrigue at Curly. You looked past them though, desperately searching the small crowd of people following in his wake until you saw the one you've been waiting for. Joseph, stony-faced and stern, blending in with his compatriots. It was almost funny to compare to the laid-back and jovial man you'd gotten to know. After a few moments longer of staring each other down, Black Vulture spoke. Well, is that who I think it is? The infamous Curly Wolf? What's it to ya? What are you doing in my town? Well, I'd imagine we're both here for much the same reason. I'd heard tales of your exploits. Can't say the same. Who are you? I'm Black Vulture, gentleman outlaw of the doesn't ring a bell. The feathers of Black's neck clearly ruffled at Curly's rebuttal, but he waved it off. More fool, you. I say. More fool you, I say? You here for the gold then? Yes, and how strange that we might run into each other like this. I'm willing to bet you're not a sharing man. Like I said, this is Curly Wolf property now, so you best go on and fly away. No, I don't think we will be, Curly. I think it would be a shame. It would be a shame for so much gold to be wasted on a scum like you. Should keep that highfalutin beak of yours shut, lest you want a barrel of a gun inside it. Let us see then, Curly Wolf. To the victor go to the spoils, and I intend to spill that tiny brain of yours across the dirt. Fine by me. Don't need much of a brain to shoot you. This wasn't how you wanted things to go. You and Joseph were still in the thick of it, facing each other. You thought it'd be out of the fight. The air was still. Hands came to hover over the guns, every pair of eyes trained on the opposing side, waiting. In a standoff like this, it was the test of the boss's mettle, their mental fortitude. How long would anyone last before pulling the trigger? Trying to psych each other out, being the first one to take the shot wasn't always the best call, but having to react to that first shot could be worse. It was a test of loyalty too, for everyone following them. Your underlings couldn't step out of line or take the shot themselves. To break rank early would be a betrayal, but when bullets went flying, it was unpredictable. Staying meant a risk to yourself. You knew Curly was a good shot. He had the upper hand here, but you were reminded of something Joseph told you. Black Vulture wasn't the shootist. He had someone else for that. He could brag, but he wasn't the real one. You thought about whether Curly should know. Keep quiet? Also, how would you know that? No, it was better if Curly didn't know about the shootist. As dangerous as it was to leave someone like that hanging around during a fight, it was more danger to him. The seconds dragged on. It felt— oh, I did a little accent there. It felt as though your breath may tip the scales, chest heavy from breathing, the air of people who wanted to kill you. There was a safety in numbers. In the crowd, even so, you found yourself for the first time thinking about running. Never before had you considered it. This was time— okay. This time was different, of course. There wasn't going to be a next time. Running would tip the scales for sure, but you couldn't know in whose favor. Play it safe with the gang, or run and let all hell break loose. Ooh, I don't know. I don't know, because I feel like if you run, you start the thing that they're all waiting to do. If you stay, though, you could get shot. I don't think anyone shoots the runner. So I feel like you'd be safer. Run? You had to run. Staying wasn't worth the risk of getting shot. Not here, not this time. Across the impossibly long-feeling gap between Curly and Black Vulture's gangs, you look closely at Joseph, catching his attention. Oh, you nodded once at him, and he nodded back, understanding if one ran, you both ran, together. To your right side, you spied a gap, an alley between two buildings near to you. Heartbeat pounding like a drum in your chest, you set your feet steady in the dirt. You ran out from behind Curly as fast as you could, letting the momentum of your legs pounding the ground carry you. You were down the alleyway and out of Black Vulture's sight before almost anyone could react. Looking back, you saw Curly's expression vacillate between a moment of surprised anger then a snarl before landing on gritted teeth. Curly tried, with a quick and practiced motion, to reach for his gun, but it was too late. A shot rang out and a sharp whiz in the air was cut short by a wet thud, and Curly flinching hard. That was all you saw before you took off, as did everyone else in town, it seemed. You heard the scuffle of many shoes. Curly was the most dangerous person here right now, even when hurt, so you were glad to be making distance from him. That's what I was thinking, because like, if he's near you, you can't run. As you ran through the houses that lined the main street, many gunshots started to fill the air, loud cracks that echoed down the alleyways. You kept running through the maze of houses as far away as you could get, slowing down as you reached the last of them. These houses led to a hill that sloped into the rest of town. You stopped in the shade and leaned against one of their wooden walls, panting. The fight continued and you listened. It didn't seem to be moving away from the street much. You would be safe elsewhere in town. You needed to find Joseph now. That was all you focused on. You'd be safer together. He ran when you did as well. You slid your gun from its holster, the grip of the metal a small comfort in your hand. If you followed the curve of this ledge along, you'd reach the other end of the street where Black and Co. were. Joseph can't have gone far. You started walking carefully, listening and looking at each alley before crossing, steadily making your way past the houses. It wasn't long before you heard someone near you, shouting, familiar. You heard the scuffle of feet in the dust before two figures burst out from behind a house, one chasing the other. It was Black and Joseph, Black hot on his heels, and you saw him grab the back of Joseph's shirt as he tried to run away. He kept running and crashed into Joseph, sending them both tumbling down the rocky incline, kicking up clouds of dust as they did. You ran over to the edge where they fell, watching for a moment as they tried to get a hold of each other in the dirt. Clothes stained with brown patches of desert dust and their guns tossed and laying discarded near them. Joseph grabbed at Black, punching his side. You hastily holstered your gun and slid down the hill towards them, stumbling as you hit the bottom. You carried the momentum of your stumble into a run, then swung your leg across Black, foot connecting hard with his stomach. You let out a grunt and retch. Oh, he let out a grunt and retch, clutching his stomach, giving Joseph the chance to throw him off. Joseph rolled away on his arm and knees, standing up quickly. Black tried to get up despite still being winded, but Joseph easily kicked him down onto his back with one foot to the chest. Oh. Joseph shuffled over to you, and you both stood over Black, who slowly propped himself up on his hands, leaning back and looking at you. He eyed you over, catching his breath back, trying to mask the fear in his eyes with the smug smile that spread across his face. Well, well now, who's your little friend, Joseph? I'm Coots. I'm another lookout. So you're in league with this treacherous scumbag then. What a twist. You're very much going to regret this, Joseph, when this is all over. Punishing people is so distasteful, but sometimes it must be done. Sorry, Black, but you ain't gonna get the chance. This is the end of the line. Black's smile softened a little at Joseph's words, either not having listened or simply not believing him. Joseph, don't be foolish. Help me up and I won't punish you too harshly. Then we can forget all this nasty business. Your friend can even join us if you'd like. Let's go take care of Curly and then we can search for that gold. You saw Joseph waver for a moment, the offer ticking over in his mind. His breath hitched for a moment, stealing the resolve of his promises. You really don't listen, do ya? I'm gonna kill you, Black, for everything you've done. Black scoffed, brown nodding in anger and indignation. For everything I've done, you ungrateful little whelp. I'll tell you what I've done. I've been a gentleman and shown you nothing but kindness ever since you joined me. I fed you, mentored you, brought you under my wing, and this is how you repay me? By threatening to kill me? I can't tell if you're lying in my face or really just that delusional. You don't care about me. You don't care about any of us. You just like having a posse that'll talk you up in saloons and do all the work for you. A city slicker playing cowboy for the sheer hell of it. Maybe you can fool other folks, but none of us ever brought all this gentleman shit for a second. Black's face was pure contempt, the face of someone used to always being told what he wanted to hear. You unholstered your gun, handing it to Joseph on top of your palm. He took it, holding it by his side and cocking the hammer. How absolutely dare you? You have no idea what I've sacrificed. I gave up my life in the lap of luxury to rough it out in the desert with people like you, to live the life I was told stories about. I made a name for myself, Black Vulture, the gentleman outlaw of the West. You're not a gentleman. You didn't do anything. Your gang made your name for you. Joseph made your name for you. He's more of a gentleman than you'll ever be. Black's brow furrowed and his eyes squinted at you, filled with the rage of a man who was never told no. The wind died down for a moment. Everything was impossibly still. Not a movement, not a sound. The whole world seemingly to take pause, waiting. The stillness was broken as Black's body twitched, and he threw himself towards his gun, scrambling in the dust to try and grab it. Joseph shot at him, missing, then shot again as Black just touched his gun, the bullet passing through his head with a spray of blood. Black's frantic body fell limp, settling. A few moments passed, and the sand under his head becoming a stained dark brown. Joseph turned to you. He was trembling, his hands fluttering. He grabbed the gun by the barrel and gave it back to you. You took it and holstered it again quickly, stepping closer to put your arm around him. Aw, it's the hug scene! I like this scene! He was warm, and as he put his arms around you too, you felt every shake and tremble of his head on your shoulder. Arm tight across his back. You alright? You alright? Are you hurt? No, I'm just fine. Few bumps and bruises is all. He pulled back, gently grabbed you by the shoulders, eyes meeting. Are you alright? What happened? Where's Curly Wolf? Yeah, I'm not hurt. I don't know where he is. I ran before he could follow me. I think he got hit. I would say the same. He got shot by black shooters. They both tailed me after I ran too. I put the shooters down with my shotgun, but then Black was right on my behind. That was just before you found me. Right. I think we should get to the saloon. Safest place in town I can think of. We can keep a lookout for Curly. Sounds like the fight's died down too. You think we sneak across the street? You nodded. Joseph picked his shotgun up, and you both climbed back to the short hill, cautiously approaching the street. You both sidled up against the wall before an alley, staying out of sight, looking and waiting to make sure it was clear.
You saw and heard no one, not from the street, and if you cut through here, you could get to the saloon quickly. Joseph thought it was a safe bet too and nodded at you to go. You left the cover of the buildings, walking close to each other. As you round the corner, you walk past the thin side door of a house. You take no note of it, or of it being slightly ajar, not until you hear the creak of its hinges as it opens more. Not until you feel a hot, piercing pain in your side and the vice-like grip of a clawed hand on your shoulder, pulling you into the knife. You cried out at the sharpest metal invading your flesh, flailing to try and grab onto Joseph, who snapped around to look your way. Enveloped in the shadow of the dark house against the midday sun, Curly Wolf crouched in the doorway, dragging you down. Without a second thought, Joseph bounded towards you both, leaping past you to bodily tackle Curly. You felt the relief and the searing emptiness of the knife slicing its way out of your body. The flesh below your ribcage stained your shirt. You fell to the ground, any twisting of your body pulling at the new injury with new pains. Joseph had pushed Curly to the ground and was rightly wary of the knife, but his hesitation gave Curly too much of an opening. Attacking without thought, like the hurt animal he was, he swung the knife at Joseph, and Joseph recoiled out of the door with a cry. He clutched at his eyes as he fell next to you and sat straight up, taking deep, tearful breaths, backing up further. You were on your hands and knees and stood up more, hands scrabbling against the nearest wall to help you get to your feet. You reached for Joseph's hand, and he eagerly grabbed you by the wrist, both tightly holding on as he got up and started running with you. "Traitor! You keep running, but I'll kill you! There's nowhere to hide in this town!" You hunched over slightly as you ran, trying not to put any stress on the cut to your side. It didn't seem too deep, but hurt like hell. You ran through the many houses until you reached the main street, pelting forward to the saloon, not stopping for anything. The street was quiet. Glancing down, if you saw the shapes of people tucked in doorways and behind buildings and fence posts. Still waiting for someone else to make a move. As you ran to the saloon with Joseph in tow, both of you breathing ragged and your feet stumbling, you tried not to make too much noise. Leaping up the short stairs of the porch, you charged into the doors, barreling through into the dim interior. You turned round and slammed the doors shut, giving yourself a moment to breathe with your head down and hand flat against the wood. "You're bleeding." You turned to Joseph, getting closer to him. His stony expression was fixated on your side, where blood continued to soak through. "So are you." You reached up to his hand on his face and took it away slowly, his arm resisting for a moment before he relented, letting you look. The feathers of his right eye were stained and matted with blood. Blood seeped from a red slit that traced from his cheek up to past his eyebrow. His eye was closed, and before you could check it further, he clasped your hand in both of his. "I'm all right, Coots. Don't worry about it now. We've got a fight on our hands still." He gave his best confident smile and a wink with his good eye, the reassurance somewhat lessened by the red stain down half his face. "All right, yeah, you're right. You should go hide somewhere. He's gonna come looking for us." Joseph gave your hand one last tight squeeze before looking around and crouching over to the bar, hiding at the end of the site. You crouched down too, walking low down to the window, peeking over it to see what was happening outside. As if on cue, Curly stumbled out of the alley you just come from, wildly searching with his head swinging back and forth. A growling bellow broke the silence of the street as he shouted into the air. "Come on, boys! We got a traitor in our midst! Start searching!" It was hard to see from where you were, but a few of your fellow gang members crawled out from the woodwork. The Black Vulture gang had seemingly been taken care of already, save for Joseph and one other bird who sprang out from a doorway. You saw him start running down the street towards the entrance of town, his only panic thought being to try and get out with his life. Curly pulled his revolver and aimed a single shot that whizzed down the street and felled the running bird. He hit the dirt like a sandbag and lay there unmoving. Although he didn't see you, Curly turned the saloon afterwards and your eyes saw his. You jerked back from the window, head against the wall, and covered your mouth to stop the yelp you'd about to let out. Perhaps it was just the stress, the sheer animosity of the situation, but you could swear those eyes made you feel like you were already half dead. You heard Curly making a hacking cough before calling out again. "Spread out and search around. They can't have gone far. It's a tomboy and some other bird." You peeked over the windowsill again. The small group of canines left to listen to Curly dispersed, walking with their guns drawn. A couple started heading your way, toward the saloon. This was bad. This was really, really bad. They couldn't find you here. Not now. Your eyes searched around the saloon for another way out. Before they could reach the porch, however, shots rang out on the streets once again. You couldn't tell where they were coming from, and seemingly neither could the others. There was a panic as people took cover. After a few moments, you saw some fire shots back, shooting at the rooftop somewhere.
Some stragglers from Black's must have gotten on top of the saloon at some point and were now raining fire upon the street. Curly had taken cover too. He wasn't stupid enough to stand out in the open still, but as he looked around, your eyes caught upon his. This time, the eyes caught yours too. You saw the flicker recognition of what must be beady eyes poking from the darkness of the saloon. Without hesitation, he leveled the gun up towards the window and shot. A loud crack of the wooden wall made you recoil to the floor. He'd missed, but now he knew where you were hiding. There was no need to look out the window again to know he was coming, undoubtedly striding across the street towards his place. You didn't have the time to waste either to make sure. Scurrying into a crouch past the door with the barred flesh on your side screaming. Oh, the bared flesh. You hopped on the first couple steps of the stairs to the upper floor and crouched by the door, waiting. Gun drawn and mouth dry, your mind was ticking a million times a second like an anxious metronome, waiting. The short moments so long. You heard him now, the cadence of footsteps you knew well, ones that kept you wary and ready and still. The thumping of wood stopped at the door. Slowly the door on your side started to open, sunlight pouring into the saloon and the gunshots cracking the air outside so slightly clear. You didn't dare move. Feet planted on the stairs, your arm held close to you and your gun pointed just past the door. As you listened and watched, focused on the door and figure behind it, you didn't expect the loud shot that came from behind it. The bullet lodged itself into the floorboards at the other side of the room, but the noise was what broke your focus. You couldn't react in time to Curly's hand sharply reaching around the door to grab your gun, roughly yanking it from your hand. You didn't hold on to it in fear of breaking a finger, and Curly stepped out from behind the door with your gun held by the barrel. His own gun was pointed your way. Arm outstretched, the revolver so close you could see the pitch black of the inside of the barrel. You chucked your gun away into the room, eyes still trained on you. Oh, he chucked your gun away into the room, eyes still trained on you. It clattering against the floor and sliding out of sight. Your heart now felt like it was trying to beat out of you and disappear into the desert like your chest would burst. The rhythm of it pumping was loud in your ears, relentless inside you, as if you'd been sprinting for hours. Curly took a step towards you, and you tried to take a step back on your own, only to fall over onto the stairs, your back colliding with the edges. He took another step and another gun. He took another step and another, gun still pointed out toward you as far as he could, and you clambered backwards up the stairs. Your hand scratched and scraped the wood, and your legs bumped against the Your hand scratched and scraped the wood as your legs bumped against the stairs as you tried to get away on your back. Curly just kept looking at you all the while, savoring the moment, his face a smile unmatched malice, teeth bared and eyes wild. Isn't this just the turnabout, huh? The pathetic yellow belly of the gang decides to stick up for themselves for once, only to end up at my feet once again. Quite ironic, don't you think? He let out a short bark of a laugh. I never fucking liked you. Not sure why I even kept you around. You're just stupid. You're stupid, but I guess you have enough of brain rattling around in there to know I didn't like you. In the end, this is for the best. For the both of us. Putting a bullet in your skull will put my mind at ease with what to do with you finally. If I'd killed you before now, might have put down morale, killing a pathetic sap that did no harm. I was just looking for an excuse all this time, wasn't I? He cocked the hammer of the gun with his thumb, a theatric to strike fear in you. His hand was shaking ever so slightly, swaying. Despite playing it cool, you could tell it was an effort for him to pull it back. The click of the chamber of relief in his arm. You saw now where he'd been shot, just next to his gun arm, a small red hole below his collarbone. And don't think I've forgotten about the bird you ran in here with. Once I've taken care of you, they'll be next. The panic in your heart coalesced as he spoke. You thought about Joseph. Your breath settled in your lungs for the next moment. In that moment, you twisted your body and kicked. Your leg swung through the air and your foot collided with Curly's hand. The momentum of the kick through his arm, stretching out his injury, sprang the gun from his grasp. His arm bent inwards and your foot carried the gun away from the banister to bounce and clatter against the floor. You didn't hesitate to scramble onto your front and start trying to run up the stairs. Curly still reeling in anger at what just happened. A few clambering steps on your hand and knees were all you made before you were jerked back, your leg held aloft and dragging you. You fell onto the stairs, trying to claw at the landing you just reached. Slipping as you were dragged, you collapsed and bashed your chin on a step, teeth clattering together in your skull. Curly had a firm grip of your ankle, and the panic in your heart once again was spreading through your body, like blood clouding water. Your ears twitched at a familiar sound, the sound of Curly's knife being pulled from its sheath. No, this wasn't it. This wasn't how you were gonna die, scrambling around on the stairs of a saloon, being pulled up by the leg for a butchering like a piece of wild game. He wasn't unbeatable. He wasn't unkillable. You saw it. He bled, just like any other mortal man. He hurt just the same as you. You hurt even more than him, every day, for years. Even now, the tear of flesh next to your ribs being pulled on as you clung to the stairs. Pushing off of the stairs, you balled your hand into a fist and twisted your body, carrying the momentum in your arm and thrusting forward. You focused your eyes on Curly's face and heard a crack as your fist connected with the end of his snout, knuckles hitting bone. Again, you fell onto the stairs as Curly cried out, letting go of your leg to clutch at his nose. You weren't sure if he was more hurt by his bleeding nose or simply his pride for being caught off guard like that, but it was enough. In the few moments he had reeled back, you scrambled up the steps again, making it onto the long landing of the first floor. Running wasn't so easy with the cut in your side and your banged up legs after falling onto the stairs. Even so, you moved as fast as you could, looking for something to help, some way out on this floor. You barely had the time to think about your next move before you heard footsteps bound up the stairs behind you and across the landing. Curly was upon you again. You turned yourself, arm up, trying to shield against him as he flew into you, tackling to the ground. His full weight hit you like a stampeding horse. Your body slammed into the wooden floor to knock the wind out of you. Your head bounced off the floor as you fell hard, thankful for the rug underneath that softened a little of the blow. On your back, your vision swam for a few moments, coming to. You see the ceiling and then the snarling, bloodied face of Curly Wolf above you. He pushed himself up to straddle you, kneeling either side, pinning you down before you could think to wriggle away. You still pushed up and tried to get away, but it quickly became apparent to be fruitless as Curly just started to chuckle with a growl. Where was this fight all this time, eh? This fire and attitude, anyone would think you'd grown a spine, finally. Might have been useful you'd been like this more often. Not they would change your fate now. Traitors don't get any special treatment, no matter how good they've been. Have to set an example. You know that, don't ya? Curly raised his hand with a knife in it, twisting it in his palm to point downwards and grasping tightly. Say your fucking prayers, kid! He raised the knife level with his shoulder and aiming it at your chest and plunged downward. No thoughts could even pass through your head before your arm shot out, grabbing at the knife. Your hand slid past it and caught onto his fist, locking your arm straight, desperately keeping it away despite his immense strength. Every muscle in your arm was screaming with the effort to keep him away, shaking, the struggle of force between you swaying the knife. All the bones and tendons in your wrist felt like they were going to snap as Curly still pushed downwards, forcing your arm to bend. You didn't want to die. There was nothing you feared more right now than the thought of metal plunging into your heart. Every second felt like it stretched on. Curly's snarling, sharp-toothed grin was gone. Now just a steely gaze that stared towards the knife's goal. You weren't strong enough. As you kept putting up the fight, you just got weaker, and his arm got lower and lower, with yours in tandem. The blade was so close now you could smell your own blood still on it. Hold on. You closed your eyes. Your jaw ached from your gritted teeth. Your arm felt like it was on fire. With what might be your final breath, you gave one last hard push, stretching towards the sky. The knife edge pressed on your arm. You pushed and pushed and pushed against the vile knife. Breath held deep in your lungs. A final prayer. Your arm sprang out and your eyes snapped open as Curly's arm jerked and you shoved it away with all your might. Your ears were ringing. 2 gunshots had gone off, and to the immense relief of your arm, Curly rolled off you, bullet holes in his stomach and chest. He tried to stay on his knees, but couldn't stop himself from falling against the wall, the side of his shirt stained with red. You rolled to your side without another moment's hesitation, grabbing at the banister to hastily pull yourself up and get away. Curly was still bewildered. Before he could decide what to do next, you carefully kicked the knife out of his hand down the landing. You looked over the banister to the ground floor where the shots came from and saw Joseph in the middle of the saloon. One arm propping him up on a table, the other pointed Curly's revolver up to you on the balcony. He was panting and out of breath, but a smile lit up his face when you met eyes with him. Curly was still against the wall, trying to cover up the holes in his side with a hand, but didn't seem to be trying to get away. He knew he was too hurt. You had the upper hand now. You waved over the balcony for Joseph to come upstairs. He did just that, shakily standing up and then slowly climbing the stairs, still wary of any tricks Curly might have up his sleeve. Joseph kept the revolver pointed at Curly as he walked over to you, passing it to your hand, keeping it level all the while. The metal of the gun was warm in your hand and sticky with Joseph's blood. You held it firm, wrist straight. Finger on the trigger. Curly's face was no longer angry, or focused, or anything else you'd ever seen. It was just tired, defeated. He had nothing left, and you knew this was the end. What else was there for him to do? He was at your mercy, and it left a great pit in your stomach, a bottomless well that made you sick to think about. What you waiting for? End it. Say your prayers then, boss. We both know you aren't going to hell anyway. He grinned at you, weariness in his eyes, but a smugness in his smile. Don't worry, I'll save you a spot down there. Not that you'll need it after you've done. You squeezed the trigger slowly and felt the click and pop of the chamber before the deafening bang that left a hole in Curly's head. He slumped against the wall and sat limply like a child's discarded doll. I guess that's it then. Pretty much. There's still a fight going on outside, but it's not ours. Look at him blush after you guys murdered some people. That's so cute. Okay, so very quickly. Hello. I'm more than sure that I've lost all my quote-unquote viewers. So basically, oh wait, can I load? No, I can't. Basically, there was a moment right before I'm just gonna read a little bit further ahead than I need to, but essentially I just missed like a line or two. You looked at Joseph, one eye bloody and swollen and staining his feathers red, the other wide and staring at Curly on the ground. You holstered the gun and gently touched your hand to Joseph's, brushing his palm. He felt your hand in turn, fingers entwining. We should wait up here till it's over. Safer, and these here are the... Oh, wait, what? Oh, I actually missed more than I thought, actually. Just kidding. I guess that's it then. Pretty much. There's still a fight going on outside, but it's not ours. You looked at Joseph, one eye bloody and swollen, staining his feathers red and the other wide, and staring at Curly on the ground. You holstered the gun and gently touched your hand to Joseph's, brushing his palm. He felt your hand in turn, Joseph's fingers intertwining. We should wait up here till it's over. Safer. I think these here are the rooms Bartholomew mentioned before. You want to rest in here? You want to rest in here? You thought about it for a moment. Your only worry was whether you might get blood on something for when Bartholomew came back. Though, considering the state of the saloon already, you thought, what the hell, you'll deal with it later. Together. Alright, that seems good. Already a bit along the landing, you walked together towards the furthest room. Twisting the handle, you opened the door with some haste, shuffling inside together. I can't believe you're gonna sleep together now. I'm so shook. You turned and closed the door as quietly as you could, still bumping against the frame, the handle creaking as it turned beneath your hand. You waited there, facing the door, giving yourself a moment. Breathing slowly, feeling the metal in your palm, gripping it tightly. With the door closed, the peppering of gunshots from outside was much softer. You could imagine them as raindrops against the window. Nice room. You let go and turned to look around the room. You agreed. It was nice. It was bright, the sunlight skimming in through the window, curtains open, fading onto the pillows, a clean bed, a side table, a dresser. You wandered over to the bed, reaching out to touch, but thinking better of it when feeling the blood sticking between your fingers. A large rug laid on the floor next to the bed, so instead you lowered yourself down to sit on it, leaning back to rest against the bed. You rested your head against it too, at least feeling the softness of the sheets brushing your fur, meeting the curve of your neck. Joseph still stood where he was, looking into the middle distance. After a few moments, his glassy stature turned down to you, coming back to life. What do we do now? We wait. Wait for the fight to die out. Once they realize that who died, they should leave. Hopefully, we won't be looked for. Right. Jay, hello! I had a moment where my stream died. It's fine. You were summoned? Jay, I think you'd love this game. It's a bunch of Western furries who are gay and in love and who are hard and soft. It's been amazing. Jay, you were summoned for the bedroom scene. Ray is watching too? Hi! What? You came in while they're about to do the do. Western furries! It's true. He shuffled over to the bed. Oh, and also trans gay furries. We love that. He shuffled over to the bed and leaned down, groaning as he hit the rug, sitting against the bed as you did now. Sit here and hope for the best. As good as a plan as we've had so far. After he got comfortable, he gingerly lifted a hand up to the long slash on his face. He let out a soft, short groans and noises as he tested the cut, checking how bad it was. He pulled his hand away, rubbing his fingers together, inspecting the minimal blood he'd found. Not bleeding too much anymore. Still hurts like hell though. Ow. You leaned forward a little to try to look at him too, but got a harsh reminder as the cut in your side flared up. At least we'll have matching scars now. Joseph looked at you, befuddled for a moment until he realizes you meant the old scar over your own eye. Well, guess it must be fate. Can't complain about that. You smiled at the thought too, reaching your hand up a little to touch the slice in your side. You were lucky. It'd gone past the ribs, not through them. If he twisted the knife, it might have been different. Jay? A gay yeehaw to you. The gayest yeehaw to you. Joseph reached up to his face again, still testing his eye. Hey, stop that. You'll make it worse. He put his hand down shyly like a naughty kid caught in the act. Sorry, just hard to ignore. You can get patched up when all the townsfolk come back, I hope. Yeah, I'll be fine. Don't you worry. You tried not to worry, settling yourself down, trying to rest. You stared at the wall of the bedroom, unsure what to think, unsure how to feel, tracing the grain of the wood with your eyes. You wondered if the numbness you felt made you a monster, some strange lacking that left you sitting there, bereft of feeling. Had to mute because I did the biggest fucking sneeze. How were you supposed to feel with Black lying in the hills of the town, baking in the desert heat? How were you supposed to feel when Curly was just a few steps outside the door, slumped against the wall? You went over and over in your head, the knife against your arm, the strain as you fought against him. You thought about how close you'd been to giving out, how close the blade had been, the cold metal threatening to spill your heart. You were brought back from your thoughts as your ears drew your eyes away from the wall, down to your side. Down to where Joseph's hand fidgeting, tapping against the floor, the softest of patters against the rug, an unheard rhythm from within him. His breathing caught your eye too. The noticeable rise and fall of his chest, the long exhales through his nose. Oh my god! Coots, are you just checking him out? Your eyes continued up to his sullen face, the feathers of his head subtly shaking, nerves bubbling to the surface. You looked back down to his hand and found yourself reaching across, reaching out to take hold. Joseph jolted as you touched him, his hand almost reflexively jerking out of yours. As he came back to the world, he looked down. He relaxed his arm when he saw, squeezing you a little and letting you steal his hand away into your lap. It was trembling as you stroked your thumb over the feathers, squeezing his hand back firmly. Your hands moved around each other, grappling and dancing, exploring each other's fingers and palms. A distraction of each other's fur and feathers, just the two of you. Joseph's arm being pulled away from him started to make him lean. His his body steadily shifting inch by inch closer to you. He started to tilt, his head tilted too, laying on your shoulder with a comforting heft of weight. You laid your head on his, feather ends tickling you through your fur. His untwisted his arm into a comfier position, keeping it near. You took a hold again, holding the back of his hand, digging your fingers in between his, intertwining. Now you're both still. Only the small movements of getting comfortable to disturb you. Hands fidgeting together. We're alive, huh? Did we really do that? Nah, there's no way. When we rolled up on Clemency and I saw y'all, I thought we had no shot. How did we make it out alive? There was an incredulity to his voice that weighed on your heart. He was right. You nearly died. Nearly, but you didn't. You were still alive. You were still here with him. I don't think I care about the how or the why. We're still alive and they aren't. All that matters to me is that I'm sitting here with you and that I can feel how warm you are. Oh! Joseph sat up at that, his head no longer on your shoulder as he turned to look at you. Looking into your eyes. Ah! The music stopped! You found your hand let go of his, reaching up, wanting to feel him, feel his warmth, the way his stomach moved as he breathed. His heart still beating strong inside him like it was reaching out to you. Quickening as you let your hand lay on his chest. Oh! Oh my god. You felt your own heartbeat thrumming louder now, like you had just minutes ago. Not out of fear this time. Not that kind. As you reached up past his shoulder. He closed his eyes as your hand rubbed gently up his neck. Feathers fluffing, stroking up till you cupped his face. The feathers of his face were soft, intermingled with the dust and dirt, the specks of dried blood that you felt beneath your hand. He opened his eyes again, those big, honey gold and brown rings that started to flick around your features, studying you. Will my stream survive? Hello? Hello? Jay? You still here? I paused the sexy because I saw the connection had died. I wanted to make sure you saw it. Back. Okay, good. I want to make sure you see the kiss and or sex scene. Add wait. Okay, I'm waiting. Okay. Are we in the clear? Can you see the gaze? We good? Okay. Looking at you in a way you don't think you ever had been before. Oh, he's blushing! He cleared his throat a little, dry and unsure of his words, but wanting to say them all the same. You know, I don't know. Did I ever tell you how handsome you are? You couldn't help your little snort as you laughed, turning your face away, giggling over the nervous trip of his words. I'm gonna scream. They're so cute. No, I don't think you did. Oh, come on, Coots. Looking back at him, it felt like your faces were closer. Your laughter subsided. Cheeks starting to warm as the sweetness of his words trickled into your thoughts like honey. You found yourself leaning in, slowly, as did he, your eyes glancing at each other's mouths. The stretch of tension in your back as your head pushed forward had your hand, buried in the softness of his feathers, pulling him closer. Eyes meeting once more just a moment before. I can't believe Ray.
being like, they're so gay, and I'm like, I'm about to read their wedding vows. What do you mean? Yay! Smooches! Your faces met. You pressed your lips to the end of his beak, his hot breath on your lips, in your mouth, as yours was in his. You held the kiss there, holding your lips to his, unsure if this is what you were supposed to do. You'd never kissed anyone like this before. You hadn't met anyone like Joseph before either. You just want to be close to him like this. Your heart was beating hard in your chest, your cheeks flushed and hot. You heard what sounded like sweeping, realizing it was your tail wagging across the floor! Stop! A few more seconds passed before the kiss was broken, your hand falling from his face to hold onto his arm. Oh my god. You looked at each other with quivering breaths. You could feel the strong rhythm of his heartbeat in your hand. Look at them smile! A big gracious smile spread across Joseph's face. You matched it with a more sheepish one, embarrassed still despite everything. Guessing you never kissed someone with a beak before. No, I haven't. Or anyone without one, for that matter. Well, if it really was your first time, I got nothing to complain about. I'd just say it was very mammal kiss. Uh-oh. Hold on. Oh my god, that took so much time to reconnect. Hello? 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 Ooh, boy, this is bad. Let me see if I can... Oh, really now? Do educate me. You have a lot of lip to it. Birds can't do that so well, you see? So we tend to kiss a little differently. Your face warmed even more, your eyes burning as he leaned in closer, talking softly. Let me show you. One hand came to rest on your leg as he leaned forward, his beak passed flush with your snout. You closed your eyes as he came closer. The whispers of his breath warm on your face as the tip of his beak gently poked at your cheek. He preened and rubbed his beak through your fur, almost nibbling at you, feeling soft scrapes against your skin. Joseph's affections continue against your cheek, the feathers of his face close to your nose, smelling of sweat and tobacco. He nuzzled through the fur of your face a few moments more before rubbing his beak all along your snout as he dipped his head back. You opened your eyes again, bemused by Joseph's new kiss, to gaze upon his bashful face. From the blush of his cheeks and the unusual shyness he was trying to show off, you felt as if you'd been entrusted a secret. What'd you make of that? Oh, that's so cute! I think I like mine better, but I can get used to those two. He slipped an arm around your back, holding you closer as your heart fluttered at the thought of familiar kisses. Oh my god! This is so much. In such the best ways. My god. In all the best ways, this is so cute. I would be happy to oblige. His face beamed with a warm smile and he leaned forward to rest his head atop yours. You reached your hand across him and grabbed his other hand, pulling it into his lap, keeping you all close like a bundle of sticks. Letting your mind focus on him, feeling his hands squeeze your side firmly, squeezing his other hand back. Listening to his breathing, to the small shuffles of his clothes, to the faint beat of his heart in his chest. Your ear flicked around a little as you heard something else. Some subtle noise you wanted to ignore, focusing on the warmth of Joseph. The fight in the street seemed to be over. No longer could you hear the muffled shoes, the muffled shots, the pops or bangs or cracks that split the air. What you could hear now, though, were rhythmic thuds, distant and soft, but growing louder by the second. It was footsteps. First at the stairs, but now coming along the landing, coming closer. You sat up sharply, knocking Joseph in the chin a little, as you heard one of the doors open, and then close. Whoever it was checking the rooms. Whoever it was checking the rooms. Joseph sat up as he took note of the noises as well, realizing the same as you. Someone was looking for you, or at least someone was looking for stragglers. Your hand snapped your gun and pulled it from the holster, aiming it square at the door. You heard more doors open and close. Whoever it was would be here in just a few seconds. The footsteps grew that little bit louder, and you found something familiar within them. There were 4 footsteps. 2 people. But there was another offbeat thump there, out of pace. A 5th footstep? As the hunters came to the door, you realized what it was, your hand coming down, pointing the gun away. Joseph whispered urgently, "What are you doing?" It wasn't another footstep you heard. It was a thump of a cane. The door swung open with 2 figures standing in the doorway. A moment of uncertainty had you pointing the gun back their way. You put it away again, though, as, sure enough, you saw who you were expecting. It was Sheriff, along with a man unfamiliar to you, a lanky, serious-looking hair who leaned in, still holding the door handle. "Whoa, put that thing away there. We don't mean you no harm." Both of them had rifles slung over their shoulders, and Sheriff's worried face turned to one of relief. And Sheriff's worried face turned to one of relief when you met eyes. And there I was getting all twisted up worrying about you two. I knew you'd be all right. "Sheriff, what are you doing here? I thought everyone was out of town." "Well, everyone is, except for us." "Oh, I should introduce you. This is Matthew. He stayed behind to help me. I couldn't go with everyone else. I was worried about the town and your boys, so Matthew and I stayed here to help however we could. We were up on the roof shooting as a distraction. I hope it was some help." "Wait, that was you? I thought you were supposed to be pacifists." "Well, we didn't actually shoot at anyone. We just shot near them." "Trying to tip the scales in your favor and give them something else to worry about. Looks like that made the saloon a bit of a target, though. Bartholomew's not gonna be happy about this mess." "I'm sorry. We'll do whatever we can to help." Matthew waved it off cheerily. "Don't worry. My husband's a very forgiving man, but the saloon is like his baby. He'll want to know you're all right, but after that he's gonna want to fix it up." "So this was the husband? You didn't think your first meeting with him would be like this. Seems like you got banged up pretty bad, too. I don't know if we should have done more." "No, I think you may well have saved our lives. We knew the danger of what we were doing." "Thank you for helping us like that. You didn't have to." "Yeah, thanks. We owe you one." "Don't mention it. We'll ask for your help when you're better. But right now you need some seeing to. Lucky for you, the town doctor's here." "Where?" "You're looking at him." "Ah, sorry." "Nothing to apologize for. We've all had quite the day." "What happened to everyone else?" "We told them to leave. Their bosses are dead, and we said more people would be back soon, too. None of them felt like sticking around." "You're safe." Inside yourself, there was some deep sigh of relief you didn't realize you'd been holding on to, like you hadn't breathed right for days. You nodded gratefully. Matthew came into the room and started tending to Joseph first, looking over his injuries. You were both hurt, bruised, and bloody, but you were safe now. You wonder how long it'd be until you could believe that. You're not sure if you knew back then, or when you realized that you'd carry the scars from that day for the rest of your lives. You and Joseph were put up in separate rooms at the saloon by Bartholomew, who insisted you stay so that Matthew could treat you both. The month you spent resting and recovering, there was a full of sleepless nights. Nightmares came often, some more vivid than others. You often woke in the early morning to find you in your bedsheets drenched in sweat. Some nights you were woken by Joseph shouting. Those nights you'd sit up in bed waiting for him to come into your room and crawl in, lying with him until he fell asleep. Other nights, where you felt shaken and sick by what you dreamt about, you'd wake him, asking if you could sleep in his bed. Neither of you talked much otherwise. You kept to yourselves in your rooms, resting. Doctor's orders. You weren't sure of their benefits, but Matthew brought you medicines occasionally, often some concoction involving whiskey. He joked about the perks of having a bartender for a spouse. The taste was vile to you still, but you found it helped, just a little. It was odd, you thought, that the respite of bed rest felt like just as much work as being up and about at the camp. It sometimes felt like resting was the last thing you were doing. As the days rolled by, there did come the point you'd been waiting for, where you both were feeling fit enough to get up and do something. You still kept to the saloon, only seeing a handful of familiar faces at odd times. The saloon was already clean and mostly fixed by the time you were recovered enough to lend a hand. You felt like you'd missed your opportunity to help out, but Bartholomew assured that he'd need help when the new windows were to be fitted. He'd also brought up that neither of you had joined in on the nightly gathering at the saloon. That now you were better, everyone would love to see you. You'd heard the gatherings all those nights you'd been resting, attendance waxed and waned, but every night the saloon was bustling and merry, full of people, enjoying each other's companies, singing songs, telling stories. The idea of being in the midst of that crowd put ice in your stomach. Joseph happily agreed to come along to the next gathering, and so did you. You knew, really, that it would be good to be around people. Now here you were, standing in front of the window in your room, looking out past the vague reflection of your face in the glass. Night had fallen. Lights in the houses down the street smuffed one by one as people left for the saloon, the downstairs filling with the town. Already you could hear the muffled sounds of mingling chatter, spatters of loud laughs that had grown familiar to you through the walls. You kept looking out the window into the dark desert, knowing that you'd have to move soon, just waiting another second, another minute. You had to go. Go on. Leave the room. A short sigh at yourself sent you off, walking across the room to meekly open the door. You pulled it open just a crack, the warm lamp light in the saloon spilling in, and to your surprise, you found Joseph standing there, one hand raised about to knock on your door. He flashed you a little smile, clearly asking if he could come in. You opened it just enough to let him in before closing it, leaning with your shoulder to the door as he stood close to you. Hey. Hi. Your greetings practically stumbled over each other, both clearly antsy, trying to get some words out. Are you ready? You chewed the inside of your cheek a little as you thought. You wanted to be ready. You wanted to go down and see the people who had cared for you. Joseph was here too. It would be fine. I'm not ready either, if it helps. I figured if we dilly-dally about it, though, we'll never be ready. Yeah, you're right. You sighed and Joseph patted you on the shoulder, and a little reassurance to get you going. All right, let's go have a good time. That's the spirit. Joseph followed close behind you as you opened the door wide and stepped out, eyes adjusting from the darkness of your room. You closed the door as you left, and you walked along the landing together down the stairs, looking out over the disparate crowd. Clemency was a small town, but with so many packed into here, it felt like even the busiest of bars you'd glanced inside of before. As you neared the bottom of the stairs, you heard a voice call out. Coots! Joseph! Over here! You looked over at the bar and saw Bartholomew, waving at you, his arms stuck up high to catch you over the taller patrons milling past. It wasn't just him either. Standing at the bar were other familiar faces you were happy to see, namely Jacob and Sheriff. You took Joseph's hand and walked through with him, excusing your way past people to the bar. Jacob and Sheriff sidled along the mat to make some room between them, a friendly gap for you both to squeeze into. It's good to see you all well again. It's good to see you well again, Coots. I found myself rather worried after what happened. I'm glad to see you too, Jacob. I didn't lose another limb, so I think I have nothing to complain about. He gave you a gentle, reassuring smile, seeming
seeming genuinely calmed by your jokey reassurance. Sheriff leaned in to address you both. It is good to see you both in good health, for sure, and you'll be in even better health with a drink down you. Bartholomew? This is what I'm here for. On the house, fellas. What are you drinking? Damn, really? You sure? We've been taking up your rooms and now free drinks? You're really spoiling us. You need something so we can toast to your health. Go on, take a pick. Well, I think I'll just stick with a beer. Alrighty, how's about you, Coots? Can you do me a whiskey? You felt Joseph giving you a quizzical look, surprised you'd choose such a hard liquor. Sure thing. Let me get on those. You turned and busied himself with finding what you'd order, and you looked at Joseph, his face still confused over your choice. What? I've acquired a bit of a taste for it. No, I can respect it, just didn't see it being your kind of thing. I'm full of surprises, huh? Sure are. You felt a little blush rise to your cheeks as he gave you a wry smile. Bartholomew set down a stout tumbler of whiskey alongside the beer on the counter. You took your drinks as Sheriff started to speak. That's more like it. Now a toast. To Coots and Joseph. You boys pulled off something incredibly brave, and I'm thankful you made it. Here, here. You went round clinking glasses with Jacob, Joseph, Sheriff, and Bartholomew before taking a sip of your whiskey. Before it even reached your lips, the smell was burning in your nose and continued to burn as it slipped down your throat. It was a pleasant burn of sorts, though. You weren't sure if that was the way it was meant to be, but you enjoyed it all the same. So boys, I don't know what your plans are, now you're all fixed up, but I thought I'd take the moment to ask if you'd like to stay in Clemency. I really think you'd fit in here. It's just an invitation, mind you, no need to give me an answer now, but just think about it for me. You and Joseph glanced eyes for a moment, both humbled and blindsided, unsure what to say. Why did the question leave you gripping your glass, fidgeting your thumb over the rim? Wasn't this something you wanted? Thank you, Sheriff. That's a very kind offer. We'll have to sleep on it and think. We'll have to sleep on it, I think. Not a problem. Just a suggestion, really. Don't mind me none. Truth be told, I can't say we have much in the way of plans as of now. Yeah, no, I haven't. We've not really thought about what to do next. That was the honest truth. All you'd focus on was getting away from Curly, out from his shadow. Now you were free. You could do anything. And yet, could think of nothing. A tightness took a hold in your chest. If it isn't my favorite patience. Matthew came wandering over to the bar. Aww! Look at everybody. And greeted you both with a beaming smile. Great to see you up and at it. All thanks to you, Doc. Aw, you're too kind. I'll drink to that. He took a swig of the beer he held, as did Joseph in kind. I'm setting up a poker game right now, so I thought I'd wander around and see who's game. I'll join in. Alrighty, I already got another guy as well, so just need at least one more person. You able to sneak away from the bar, hun? He spoke past you to Bartholomew, who rolled his eyes. I admire your tenacity, Matthew, but I'm not gonna join in on your poker no matter how many times you ask. Alright, can't blame a man for trying. Joseph caught your eye and gave you a look to ask, you mind if I go? To which you just nudged him encouragingly with your elbow. I'm game if you're prepared to lose. Oh, that's fighting talk. I should have known you'd be up for it. Come with me to the table. Joseph gave your arm a gentle squeeze before he grabbed his beer and headed with the sheriff towards the back of the saloon. You watched him disappear in the throng of people before turning back to the bar, just left with Jacob and Bartholomew. Not a gambler then, Jacob? Oh, heavens no. Not that I have any particular objection, I'm just terrible at it. I have to say my poker face is quite dire. You chuckled at that, certainly seeing how it could be the case. Your eyes turned down to your drink, small talk dying away. Staring into the clear liquid that streaked the glass as you rolled it around in your hand. Were you a whiskey drinker now? You couldn't have foreseen that a month ago. Nor could you have foreseen before that you'd meet Joseph, that you'd end up here, having left the gang, Curly gone. Thinking back on it, it felt like you were always going to be under Curly's thumb. What else was there for you? That was going to be your life, until the tides of fate swept you elsewhere. You didn't think you'd ever have a chance like this. Now you have the chance to choose your life. Everything is still just as hazy. What comes next? I know that look. You turned your eyes up to Bartholomew as he put his elbow on the bar, leaning in with a friendly, knowing demeanor. That's the face of someone who's with a lot of going on in the upstairs, or there's something very interesting at the bottom of that glass. Oh wait, that's the face of someone with a lot going on in the upstairs, or there's something very interesting at the bottom of that glass. You thinking about what Sheriff said? Yeah, it's just, I don't know. What are your plans now? You must have some idea what you want to do. I can't say I do. I've not thought about it, I guess. You know, you don't have to stay in Clemency. You could go anywhere, really. Oh yes, I would say I agree. Traveling is an incredible way to learn and discover what kind of man you are. What kind of man? Indeed, it is easy when young to think you know the world, think you know yourself well. That is what I thought before I went on my pilgrimage. The man who left Pennsylvania all those years ago is not the same man who arrived in Clemency. In fact, the man who arrived in Clemency and the man sitting at this bar now are not the same either. Convening with your fellow people gives a great deal of clarity and substance to your character. I think I see what you mean. You knew what he meant, of course. You'd run with Curly for years now. Who you were when you left home and who you are now are strangers to each other. You weren't sure if that person from years ago met you now. That you'd be someone you wanted to know. It's not just yourself either. You can learn a lot about someone else from traveling with them. Me and Matthew learned so much about each other on the trail, both the good and the bad. I don't think you really know someone until you've had to share the same bed for weeks on end. It could be good for you and Joseph. Maybe. You could feel your cheeks turning red. Joseph had talked about riding east before, but that was more like running away at the time. What Bartholomew said stuck in your head. Do you even know Joseph? Do you really know him? You thought you did, but really you've only just met. You don't really know that much about each other. While you may feel things for him, you never have anyone else, and you've gone through hell and high water to be here together. Is that enough? Is that a reason to stick together? Do you want to know who he is? Do you want him to know who you are? You have no idea what the future holds. You have no idea about anything. You don't know Joseph. He doesn't know you either. You don't even know yourself. Tar was welling up in your chest, coating your insides and making you heavy. Breathing deep, tapping your fingers on the bar. It's too warm in here. Too many people. You need some air. You feeling all right, Coots? His words snapped you out of your thoughts, but the feelings remained. You nodded subtly. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go outside, get some air. Giving them both a weak smile of reassurance, you left your drink on the bar and stepped away, passing strangers to head out the doors. The night air was refreshing as it cooled your head. You welcomed the chill breeze from the desert that ruffled through your fur. You didn't hang around long on the saloon porch, walking away into the town, leaving behind the yellow light that spilled from its windows. You left the town too, past the sign that read its name, making your way up a path at the outskirts that brought back forlorn memories. Memories of feeling not unlike the ones you were harboring now, as you stood at the top of your climb on a familiar cliff. You took slow and deep breaths of the night air, filling your lungs, clearing your head. You wandered over to the cliff edge and gazed over the town, the light of the saloon stark against the inky dark. The desert was quite save for the desert was quiet, save for the whistle of the wind carrying the chirp of insects. You crouched down and fell on your haunches, sitting and letting your legs hang over the edge of the cliff. Aww. It was funny to think how many life-changing things had happened to you up here. Meeting Joseph, spending the night with him, sowing the seeds of your plans to be free. Was there some comfort to being up here, perhaps? Fond and fresh memories that calmed you, reminding you why you were here. Still, there was a gnawing feeling on your heart, no matter how much you hoped for there not to be. Why are you feeling like this? Why are you so worried? Why are you so scared? What's wrong with you? Shouldn't this freedom you have now be a good thing? Why does it feel like everything's about to come crashing down around your ears? What about Joseph? Sweet Joseph, that you made a promise with. You let out a heavy sigh. You didn't expect to be weighed down with so many thoughts tonight. It was supposed to be a celebration. Now you're up here, away from everyone, many contradictions running through your mind. That's always been your answer to things. Running away. The only time you didn't was because of that promise. How stupid can you be to choose to fight, and then want to run away from everything you were fighting for? You'd probably run away from yourself if you could. You just wish you could answer why. You sat for a little while. The wind up here was still a pleasant breeze. It blew past your head, cooling your warm ears, taking small grains of sand with it that floated off the cliff. Not thinking about much at all, you looked into the night at the distant dark blue silhouettes of hills. Howdy, stranger. What brings you out here? You were drawn from your trance by Joseph's voice all of a sudden. You were so out of it, you hadn't even heard him approach. You turned and looked up at him. He was standing a few paces away, his beer in one hand, your whiskey in the other. Mind if I join you? You nodded at the ground, letting him know he could come sit. He walked over and lowered himself carefully to sit next to you, keeping the drink steady. He held your whiskey glass out to you by his fingers, and you took it as he put it on your palm. Thanks. No problem. But like I said, what brings you out here? You absent-mindedly scratched the side of your glass with a blunt claw as you thought of your answer. I just needed some air. Yeah, it was a little stuffy in that saloon, if you ask me. We did Bartholomew a favor breaking some windows, air out the place. He giggled a little at that. He was good at making you feel better. How are you always so charming? It seems to come so easy to you. He looked a little bashful at that comment, scratching his head, unsure what to say. I don't know. I just picked it up over time, I guess. Helps get you out of fights and whatnot. Yeah, that makes sense. You feeling all right? Didn't say anything when you left. Sorry, I didn't want to bother you during your poker game. You thought about what you wanted to say, but so many things vied from your tongue. Everything swelling up inside you, chest fit to burst. You didn't know if you could admit how you were feeling to him. It almost felt too personal. It felt wrong. It felt harsh. I feel strange. That's the simplest way I can put it. He looked at you a moment, eyebrow cocked, unimpressed. Lay it on me. Huh? Lay it on me. I want to know what you're thinking. I know you got stuff on your mind. You ain't telling me. You blew through your lips with a sigh. Oh. I thought he said he blew through your lips. I was like, what? I was like, that's a weird kiss. You blew through your lips with a sigh, thinking about whether you should. He was right, after all. You don't have to hide how you feel anymore. If you were honest, you didn't want to keep hiding it. I'm scared, I guess. I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm going to do next. I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to be doing. What I'm going to do next. Everyone at the saloon was asking us about plans, and I realized I don't have any. I didn't think that far ahead. Now we're here, and I don't know what to do. I feel like an animal that's been let out of its cage and gone lost in the wilderness. But what are you scared of? What's the worst that could happen? I don't know. That's why I'm scared. What if I do the wrong thing? Make the wrong decision? What if I decide to settle down in clemency like Sheriff said and I don't like it? Where would I go? I've had so much in my life wasted running with Curly. I don't want to lose more of it to bad decisions. I've made too many of those. I don't want to waste my life either. We can make those choices together now, though. Oh, whoops. I thought that was Coots. I don't want to waste my life either. We can make those choices together now, though. We can turn over a new leaf. I know we could, but I'm worried about you, too. I was talking with Jacob and Bartholomew, and I realized I don't know you. I don't know anything about you. You don't know me either. Joseph's face was solemn. He just stared into your eyes like he was trying to unpick some meaning from your expression. I've done horrible things, Joseph. So have I. I don't know that I like the person I've become after Curly. I don't trust myself. You did what you needed to stay alive. You don't have to like it. You were growing frustrated with his rebuttals, like he wasn't listening to you. You twisted your body around, one leg up, facing him head on. I love you, and I'm scared of hurting you. I'm scared that the man who could hurt Curly is the same man that could hurt you. I'm scared that if we really knew each other, we wouldn't be here in the first place. The wind whistled in your ears. Joseph's face was still, eyes squinted a little, contemplating your words. A few moments passed before he opened his beak to speak. I love you too, and I'm not scared of you. I want to find out who you are, and hope I have the same courage to let you find out who I am. I'm scared as hell too. I know what you mean. Now that I'm free of the gang, I don't know what to do with myself. All I know is that I want to be with you. Maybe we'll make bad choices, but who cares? You helped show me I don't have to live my life in fear, Coots. I think if we're scared, it means
We have our heads screwed on right, but it doesn't have to stop us from living. We can make whatever mistakes we want. We can stay in clemency forever. We can go traveling the country. I don't give a hoot. Tonight ain't the night to worry about the rest of your life. Whatever happens to us, if I can kiss your face at the end of the day, then everything will be alright. What a smooth talker. A great wave of relief washed over you as Joseph spoke. You didn't realize how much you needed to hear that from him. A kiss and a prayer? He laughed. Yeah, on a kiss and a prayer, we'll be just fine. Story of our lives, huh? He leaned in and pecked you on the cheek, bringing a blush of warmth to them that even the night breeze could not cool. Seems pretty good to me. Now come on, let's get on back there and have a good time. And I think someone said they were gonna dust off that old piano and play us all a tune. He made to stand up, but you reached out, placing your hand over his. Wait, is it alright we just sit here a little longer? Then we can go. It's a nice night, is all. He smiled, eyes softly tilting to the sky, looking to the stars. Sure it is. You want to stay here a spell? That's just fine by me. As he settled back down, he scooted over closer to you, shoulder to shoulder, and you tilted your head to rest on him. You slipped your hand into his, and he held yours tightly, squeezing back between your fingers. The night may be cold, but he was all the warmth you need. You've spent so long looking out for yourself, looking out for people who didn't care about you. Now you can look out for each other. Aww. Aww. It's the Dipper. The end. Oh my god, look at them kissing! That's so cute. Yes, deserved credits. What a cute game. I said this partway in the game, but like I didn't think this game was gonna be that long. And not as like a complaint way, but as in like a very impressed way. Like the game didn't come off to me as a very long game. And it just was a pleasant surprise to find that I was able to play it for like a few hours actually. I'm really happy with it. I think it was a very also like charming way to write these characters. Like I think I said in another game where like this idea of like being in the closet or like oh, I didn't read the message. I should read the message. Oh, gay little game, you mean the world to us. I love your gay little game. It was amazing, genuinely. What I think I was trying to say is that like I think that that's the end. Thank you for playing. Thank you for playing Lookouts. This has been a huge project for both of us, and we're super proud and happy we've been able to share it with you after so long. If you enjoyed the game, please leave a comment or rating on Itch.io, Twitter, whatever. We love hearing from people about their time with the game. If you'd like to support us so we can keep making games, you should check out the paid Gold Edition. It's only $6.50 on Itch.io. The Gold Edition comes with a bunch of stuff like the full soundtrack, loads of original art and doodles, wallpapers for desktop and mobile, and a development art book. Once again, thank you for playing. From the bottom of our hearts, you can click the button that'll pop up on the next screen to restart the game. Cole and Hockey to the start. I probably won't like necessarily replay it, but I do want to like sit here for. Well, can I quit to the main menu? Oh no, I can't. Okay, well, let me open the game because I think there's a main menu. I just couldn't open it from there. But I think what I was trying to like verbalize was that like I think the game does a really good job at like mixing this idea of being unsure of your identity. Oh, just kidding. I thought there was always a menu. I don't know why I thought that. But like being unsure of who you are, your identity, but in a very safe and like I don't want to say global, but like in a world where like being gay is very like okay. Obviously the character is going through like transphobia, so like people being transphobic. So it's like obviously not a perfect world, but the clemency, you know, being this space of like a complete safety, and having no shame of your identity, but still being able to portray like the inability of knowing your identity in a world where, you know, like this thing that at first glance you'd be like, oh well, because they're surrounded by other gays then they're fine, they know themselves. But like the main character, who I named as Coots, Coots was like unsure of their like personality, their hopes, their dreams, their ambitions, and that is far different. Like it's not completely like separated, but and there's still a slight overlap in regards to one's sexuality and identity, but like that's kind of like the core of like what they believe in. That's like stuff that they don't know about. And being able to write that in a way that didn't feel like cheesy or like didn't feel like in your face was really nice. I think it's really well done. I think that the art is absolutely adorable. I adore it so much. The environments are really nice. I also think that the characters with the slight animations honestly tell the story. It gives me like, it reminds me of like not puppet shows, but not puppet shows. I think of like paper puppets. I think there's a word for that. I don't know if it's called paper puppets, but like it gives me like paper puppets vibes, and I'm just so invested in the story that like even if they're not animated necessarily, it feels like they're living and breathing, and like the sound effects also just are so well matched, and it's just been really lovely. But yeah, that was Lookouts. I want to open up their itch page so you can look at their itch page. Let me close this, turn on this. Look, it's their itch page. It's so cute. Oh, I love your logo too. I have such a bias for logo types, because I think that why not? Words are pretty. Words are a piece of art. But yeah, the Made with Love by Cole, who's the artist and character designer. Hockey, who's the programmer and writer, and Fake Gamer Comics, who did the music. Jamie, who did the music. Absolutely amazing. Could not recommend it enough. But this was super fun. I'm glad I was able to play it.